I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. Cause the rich men, cause the rich men. I wish politicians would look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare. God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. Cause the rich men, north of rich men. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay.
Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Gatekeepers! Hello, old souls. Living in the new world with an old soul. I'll tell you what, it ain't easy, but it makes it a little bit easier with a little hard-earned smarts. I wanted to say wisdom, but wise people know that they don't know, you know? But they can see what's coming. They can see what you're doing. Yep. So you don't need to see my reaction to that, although I highly recommend going in and watching a few because it has crossed all barriers. that song. And I spoke on it last night. Young man lives on 97 acres, busting his tail. Got just a titch of it paid off. But he lives in a $750 RV that he bought off Craigslist. It's got a tarp on the roof. They offered that young man $8 million record contract. $8 million. Guess what he said? Nope. Absolutely not. He's the real deal. So please go in if you're interested and share that out. I had to play it tonight because it speaks from the soul. It speaks from the heart. It speaks for every, sore foot out there trying to huff it as a server or a bartender or a factory or carpenter, mechanic. You out there making your money with a shovel? Or are you out there, serving people that are being nasty? You got a hospitality job? It's getting harder and harder, isn't it? Keep that smile on your face. Keep those lights on, right? I know. We find ways. That young man found a way. And it's given a lot of people hope. And I think the reason it gives people hope is because it connected. It resonated. And it connected so many people all together, even though we were all connected anyway. Sometimes we need to be reminded of that you're not the only one that feels the way you feel, right? And you're not alone. And you're certainly not alone in this chat. Hello, everybody. Let's get this wonderful friend of mine in here, this old rattlesnake, and now he's got a Mrs. Rattlesnake. I bet you her bite's worse than yours, my friend.
Oh, I guarantee it is.
Always is.
How you doing tonight, Cisco?
Right,
everybody,
sweetheart.
Good to see everybody.
I think that's true in any species. Doesn't a female usually have more venom? Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
true, or is it?
I believe so.
Or is it the youngins? I'm thinking.
I know.
Let's just
You
start
don't
a
mess
rumor.
with a mama bear. I know that much.
It's just let's just start a rumor. I think females have more venom, and then it's the youngins because they're smaller, right? And spiders and some snakes, don't they have a lot more?
Well, the baby, like the snakes, the baby rattlesnakes, they'll inject all their poison at once. Whereas the mom, they learn to just give you a little bit, or maybe even a dry bite.
We've learned to be tapered off.
But the little ones don't have any
reserve.
Governor filter, anything. They just give it off to you. That's why the little
got any holdback.
Are venomous, rather. They're not poison. They're venomous. Down south, we said they were poisonous, but poison is ingested, venom is injected. That's the easy way to remember that. But
I've got all kinds of comments to that. I think I should probably just hold back like those female rattlesnakes hold back a little venom to that. I'm telling you what, the world's crazy, ain't it, sweetie? How's Nick?
She's doing good. She's working on stuff for the channel. I've got a video coming out tomorrow about Mammoth Cave National Park. It's a really, really, really good. It's one of my favorite ones we've ever done.
Really? That's saying a lot. You guys have done some really good ones. I mean, it must be some humdinger.
It's a doozy.
I gotta say, you look wonderful.
Well, thank you.
You really do. You're just, isn't he?
Happy,
isn't he pretty?
Married life's agreeing with me.
Look at him.
The weather here is nice. Don't have the allergy problems and things that I did in the desert. And it's a hell of a lot cooler here.
Yeah, I think it's fixing to get colder, honey. You still got the winter. Talk to me in February.
Yeah, I may be singing a different tune then.
Talk to me in February.
I'm looking forward towards fall in New England. Is from what I hear. It's
my God. So, I can't even.
And hey, Scott, how you doing, buddy?
Scott, hey, how you doing, Renice? Welcome.
Vandy, Amy Smith, JRG, Catheda.
Hello.
Here, Vixen Doe.
Lindsay's here. Sarah.
Lynn Dannison.
Sarah's had a couple of birthdays. We should throw her another a birthday out there. Happy birthday, sweetheart. I think it was her and her son. She was on the 14th, I think.
Gray Wolf Paranormal Lindsay.
Hey, Lindsay. Uncommon.
For those of you that have been waiting
Doe was first in. Renice. Hi, sweetheart.
Renice, yeah, they got a lot of good people here. I recognize everybody.
Froze Moments in here.
Sarah Claire's here.
Right? Oh my
She
God.
always sends us funny stuff on Facebook, Froze Moments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Got a good crowd
Those
here
lovely
tonight.
gatekeepers.
Always.
Gatekeepers. So yeah, man. I mean, had you heard that song before? It's blowing up
I hadn't, but
on
I like it.
on the inner tubes. It's all over the inner tubes. It's just popping like crazy. And what's really sweet, throughout our lifetimes, we can look back and think of those moments that everybody felt something at once, almost at once, around the same time. Like, you had your instant ones like JFK. I mean, that was just boom, 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 boom. Lincoln, I'm sure it took longer to get that word out, but telegraphs were going crazy back then. It got out. It got out a lot faster, to the towns anyway, the cities and the towns around the world. When the little girl fell in that tube, little baby, it was a baby Jessica, and everybody was just
Yeah,
standing around
baby
the
Jessica
TV.
fell in the well. And remember, they found that guy that didn't have any collarbones or something and lowered him down in the hole.
What?
He'd been sitting by the phone for a while.
Dude, what now? Back up the truck. What now?
There was some guy, he didn't have a collarbone or didn't have shoulder blades or something. He was kind of bullet shaped, and they lowered him down in the well to get her. Like I said,
Sitting by the
he's been
phone.
sitting by the phone for a while waiting for something.
Somebody got to call.
Here's my
Somebody's
moment to
going to need
shine.
me. Oh my gosh, it's a moment to shine. Ain't that something? Wow.
And then later
Halloween
on,
is
didn't they
coming.
eventually
I
find
can't
out
remember
that
that part. I'm telling you what.
the other kids she was playing with or her
I don't
siblings,
know.
whoever
I
it was,
remember
actually
falling in.
dropped her down in there just to see what happened?
There are so many events like that, Steve, that I
Hey,
remember
Joanne, Yoda girl.
standing in a bar somewhere and
Seeing it on.
Look,
I got to look that up now.
Sometimes I was sitting at the bar. Sometimes I was standing behind the bar working. Sometimes I was cocktail waitressing, and everybody's just standing around and got that tray, and you're watching. The Challenger was like that. I was bartending and serving.
I was in a
And that whole
doctor's
bar was
office
full.
and
Yeah.
in the waiting room, and I saw that
And we
live
watched-
on TV with the Challenger thing. They had it,
You know,
the launch on there, and then the subsequent.
gee whiz. I can remember.
Misfire.
I don't physically remember watching the TV as much as I remember being in the living room with the anything to do with the moon. They were sending something up, or they were put, all of that stuff in the late 60s,
I
early
watched
70s.
Armstrong live. If he truly did walk on the moon, there's some words about that now that it may have been fake, but whatever it was, I watched it.
Yep. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Jessica McClure.
It probably took a room full
October
of 25
14th,
people
1987
weeks to come up with that line.
18 months old.
Say what? What year was that?
Baby Jessica in 1987.
87?
Midland, Texas. Fell into a well in her aunt's backyard at the age of 18 months. Took 56 hours.
87. I was at Red Lobster.
She was in an 8-inch well casing, 22 feet below grade. So, yeah, she was down in there. But, yeah, there was a guy, one of the guys that helped get her out of there.
Terry Brown.
He either didn't, I think he didn't have any collarbones or didn't have any shoulders or something.
Like the original Slender Man.
Yeah, really. Wow. Hey, there's downtown Terry Brown.
Yeah, that's great. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. We're going to have fun tonight, Steve. So this is what happened. I don't know where I was going with that, but I was remembering where I was 9/11 and all the different poignant times. I mean, if you guys can look back and think of a time where you felt the whole world almost was paying attention to the same thing. I mean, almost, there was, so many things around the world, bridge collapses, Point Pleasant. Where is that Point Pleasant? Is it West Virginia?
West Virginia.
Mothman, West Virginia?
Yeah. Going from West Virginia over into,
I hear they got dogmen in Hagerstown, Maryland.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, oh man. I've been studying hard because, Here
you go. A roofing contractor, Ron Short, volunteered to go down the shaft. He had been born without collarbones and could collapse his shoulders to work in tight confines.
Holy shit.
The team considered the offer, but they ultimately had somebody else inch his way into the tunnel. But that poor guy, he's been sitting by the phone waiting for a call. And I just remember that I thought he helped, but apparently he didn't.
That took a hard left there, Steve. I was all happy for the dude. Oh, look at this Sapphire Elf. I think she just put up a Are you seeing the same thing I am?
I
Is
think
that a man without a collarbone? It looks
looks like
like a man with his arms behind him and a bare butt head first down going into a hole.
it could be.
You see
I
that?
thought it was one of these, but it could be.
It could be.
Legs up in the air and a bare ass
But
going down into
it
the
could be
tunnel
that
to get
guy
a little
without a collarbone. He's got his arms in the
get a
back.
girl out of it.
Because they'd have had to strip him naked and lather him down with lard or something, wouldn't they? And just shove him down there butt last, you know. Grab hold of her. Well, he can't grab her because his arms are down behind his butt. Look at the way he is.
Paramedic Robert O'Donnell was ultimately able to inch his way into the tunnel, wrestle Jessica free from her position pinned inside the well with one leg above her forehead. Tell me she wasn't miserable.
Well, do y'all see what I'm seeing? Does that not look like a naked man going down a hole with his arms behind him and his butt? And I don't know what's next to him, but that must be the ground level right next to him. But see, here's the question.
That's the cover off the well, man.
If he went down that way, how was he going to grab her with his teeth? Because his arms are going to be pinned down
head
the side.
first, arms first.
Oh my goodness! I mean, and see, now we've put Sapphire in a position because perhaps, you know, something totally different.
Okay, they dug an adjacent shaft and a cross tunnel was how they actually got to her.
I just don't understand why you can't dig down really fast, dig down right next to her, parallel, going straight down, and then, you know.
That's ultimately that's what they did.
Make a left and go
in at an angle and then had another shaft.
And then just took out the side and just pulled her on out. Just give that mama a shovel. She'd have got down in there.
Yeah.
But they hold people back that could do the job and just stand around and talk about what they're going to do. You know, probably you know.
During the drilling, rescuers could hear Jessica singing Winnie the Pooh, so she kept a good attitude.
Oh God, that's heartbreaking. Holy geez.
Think about it. Remember Pooh would get stuck in his
man?
His
yes, I do. Oh gosh, that's so sad. They couldn't
get him out, so they decided to make antlers out of his legs and make a gun rack out of it.
Yeah, make a gun. Hey, you know, work with what you got, right, Steve? And that's what he said to me. I said, I was so caught up doing yesterday's Peter Underwood. And, you know, if you get guests and they get sick or family is ill or something like that, or co-host, whatever, it just throws you off. So you like, okay, I'm good. I'm doing the whole thing and get behind us playing catch up. And Steve asked me last night, he said, what are we going to do tomorrow? I said, Sam, I don't know.
Some of the best shows start out that way, though. You know?
I said, I don't know, man. I'm so behind. We might just have to get on there and just think about something to talk about because, you know.
Just talk till we think of something to say.
Right. But you said something. You said something that it sparked, I don't know. It's been more than 24 hours. It's left my head. But you said something about Leonard Nimoy or something, and or
celebrity ghost stories. So those are always good if you can.
They're always good. And I thought, okay. And I went in my vault. That I actually kind of have.
My favorite celebrity ghost story is the one with Telly Savalas.
Telly Savalas, hands down. Hands down.
Best.
All around.
Absolutely the best.
From beginning to end, his character, the way he tells it, the way he reluctantly tells it with the kind of that edge of, you know, who loves you, baby.
You can tell Telly was just a no bullshit kind of guy. And he wouldn't have believed it himself if it hadn't happened to him.
Yeah, we'll have to show that again around Halloween. We'll do like our favorite ghost story comp. You know,
greatest hits.
Yeah, that would be great. Greatest haunts, whatever. And we'll do a whole ghost story, my favorites and Steve's favorites and your favorites, and we'll pull them all together and we'll tell them again. But yeah, man, I've seen some amazing ghost stories. I have to say that one guy that I keep calling Ryan, that's not Ryan. I can't remember his damn name for sure. I told you it'd always be Ryan. Where he thought it was everybody would thought it was demon is setting his air conditioner on fire. He had to go camping and went out in the woods and terrorize him, come at him with a knife, made the walls have faces coming out of him and stuff, and stood over him and sweated him and, you know, trying to scare the pants off of him. It turns out to be just a little old man that got angry and confused and caught up. And from beginning to end, he even crossed the old man. You couldn't have had a more perfect. ghost story that taught you so much within it. It's absolutely amazing. And Telly is like that, but it's a different edge with Telly Savalas because, first of all, I don't think this guy is going to lie to you about something like that. He wouldn't. And there's a lady involved, a widow who lost her husband, and he'd never, he wasn't that kind of guy, and he was just this deep Greek, kind of culture that, he might cheat on her, but he's not going to lie about her. I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just that kind of integrity, right, Steve?
Absolutely. He was just from that generation.
Yeah. And then he got picked
people
up.
Had integrity, and they were as good as their word.
Absolutely. And
rare commodity these days.
Come to think of it, damn, Steve, I just thought of something I knew that just kind of escaped me. I was so caught up with listening to the guy's voice and how the guy picked him up. Telly Savalas rode in a ghost vehicle. He had to have manifested that whole, because he picked him up in a car, unless the car was stolen. Unless the ghost stole my car. But think about it. Because he picked him up, gave him a ride, dropped him off.
Yeah, he gave Telly a ride.
Yeah. Lent him $1. So was the vehicle a ghost vehicle? I have to find that and pull it up.
It's fascinating to think about.
Yep.
I need to go watch it again too.
Yep. And then it finished up and even had a little Kennedy assassination in it, because he was playing golf a couple of years later and he hears the same voice coming from a hill behind him on the golf course. And there he stands, same dude with an umbrella.
He called him by name too. Telly.
I think he did. He did.
That high, weird voice. Did you hear what happened in Dallas? And it was before the news had even reported it.
Hell yeah. I was right before he finished.
Got to the clubhouse or whatever, the restaurant at the 9th hole, and went in for a drink. And it was just then coming on the TV while they were there that Kennedy had been assassinated in Dallas.
Yep. And that's definitely one of those moments in time where we're all linked together. And I kind of think that's what that song has done. Because over the past 2 weeks, I think it's got I don't want to get it wrong and I don't want to not do it justice, but it's in the millions and millions and millions of views. And, it's straight from the heart. 4 chords and the truth, Steve.
Indeed.
Yep. So Steve threw that at me. And like I said, I went in my vault. And I found this movie. Now, the 70s were famous for movies, the documentaries, the mystery documentary, a lot of UFO documentaries coming out around that time. Chariots of the Gods, Eric Von Däniken, right? I remember reading a book. Did you read the book, Steve, the paperback?
Yeah. I had all those in my collection.
Yep.
That was a big thing in the 70s. Chariots of the Gods, Search of Ancient Astronauts.
Yep. Monsters and Mysteries.
There were others in that.
The Peter Graves ones where he was in. It was him, Leonard Nimoy. There was 2 movies. I don't know if you guys know this. Yeah, In Search of. But there was 2 movies before In Search of that were kind of a prelim to the series. And we might watch one of those one night, but they're really good. But here's the thing. You know who narrates those? Rod Serling. Yep. And then Rod was going to do it. Rod got real sick and very, very ill. And Leonard Nimoy took over when the series got picked up and ran. So that's how that happened. I don't know if you guys ever knew that, but there's a couple of movies. They're in search of something, monsters and something else, but they're not bad. They're really good. But that 70s kind of had that flavor, Steve. It was all that, like Peter Graves showing up with his turtleneck and his blazer and and they were so serious, but they were good. They were full of information. They would usually double and triple check themselves. You know what I mean? We're
Yeah.
here in a soundproof booth with, that's where that whole soundproof booth shit came from. And
Back
we
then they
haven't
had
told the
guests
media.
like Uri Geller and Peter
Yes.
Hurkos. Remember Peter Hurkos, the guy that could hold was it a camera up to his forehead or something like that, take a
Yes.
picture? And
Yes, I do remember him.
they claimed later on that he had some kind of gimmick that he held in his hand, but I don't. Who knows?
How in the world? They checked him. They checked under his fingernails. They knew his fingerprints. They knew what color underwear that man was wearing. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's what they would do back then. Like we've done many an episode on that era around that time, and brought out Barry Taft and Auerbach and Lloyd Auerbach and all of those, the early parapsychologists, Hans Holzler. They would absolutely turn themselves inside out trying to prove that they didn't have some up their sleeve. Now, I've heard stuff from, what was that one parapsychologist who, he used to help people in town, and a lot of times homeless people, he'd give them jobs and pay them, and they think that he helped the wrong person. They came back to rob him or wanted more money for a job that they did or something. And drugs were involved with, they were, hopped up high. They either had too much of it or needed to get some, one of the two. And they killed him. And he was found there. He laid there dead for a while. And I think a neighbor saw his sprinklers just continuously going off and not getting shut. Now, he wrote a lot of good books, and he wrote, we talked about him, Steve. I wish I could remember his name. Glenn, do you know it? Do you know the guy I'm talking about?
Is it
He's got Peter. No, shoot. I knew it as well as my own. Yeah.
Charles Berlin? No.
These guys, they'll find it. Yeah, Berlin was big back then too. He was involved in a lot of documentaries. But this was a guy who's a parapsychologist, and he did his he wrote a few books. He did all of his writings in the, of course, ghosts and paranormal. He did one on phone calls from the dead, Steve. That's the night we were talking about him, phone calls from the dead. So I'll find it when we watch our thing. But, there was he said that he was trying to debunk Uri Geller, and Uri would get mad, if you tried to, stifle his game or whatever. But I think all those people really had something. But if you think about it, you always have to one up yourself to keep in the limelight, Like when you first come out with it, and you can, ride a horse and jump off a thing into a swimming pool, once they see it, the next thing you got to do is jump through a hoop of fire. Or, you have to keep one up in it. And I think that's what happens to people like Knievel and Uri Geller and a lot of those magicians and stuff. I mean, even David Copperfield, is he still touring and stuff right now?
I think he just does his show in Vegas. I don't know if he still gets out and tours or not. He's got a residency out there at one of those.
I've got a David Copperfield story.
Casinos. I saw him in Vegas.
Did you? What'd you think?
If you've got magic. A lot of money, it's easy to be a magician. That's what I think. Some of those spectacular illusions. Folks.
Yeah, heard it here first.
I mean, that started with Houdini.
Still, you got to be able to do it too. You have to have all that.
A cage out onto the stage. 4 guys would. He puts an elephant in it. The elephant disappears, and then 12 guys roll the empty cage off. So,
yeah, that's a good way of putting it too.
And remember when Copperfield made the Statue of Liberty disappear?
I remember hearing about it. I didn't see it. I was always working. Like I said, a lot of these things I remember, on a bar and a TV on the bar someplace I was working at, or restaurant or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's a trip. I saw him in Huntsville, Alabama. Had to be in the 90s, late 90s.
I saw Doug Henning. Remember him?
Yeah, he had a big smile. He had the hair and the smile.
The hippie hair and the little tight rainbow shirt and the buck teeth and stuff. He passed away, but I saw him at the Knoxville Civic Coliseum sometime in the 70s. And then after the show, he came out and sat on the edge of the stage and talked to people and signed autographs and stuff. He's a really cool guy.
Hey, that is nice. You don't hear that often. So at the Huntsville auditorium, when I saw him,
he was doing a show. I just remember like, wow, that, that was cool. That was cool. That was cool. Magic kind of annoys me because, like a lot of people, you don't really want to
there's
know
a
how they
trick. You're
do
just
it.
trying to figure it out. And then when you
Yeah.
do figure it out, it's like, oh, that's all
And then
there
it's
is to it.
disappointing.
Like,
So it's
shit.
just annoying, So, but anyway, I was respecting the show, and he did something with motorcycles. I can't remember what it was, but then he's on the motorcycle. He's got the helmet on, and it's on stage. And they're doing all the stuff, and the girls, and the fire, and the floof, and all that other stuff. And I heard something, and I'm sitting like, I'm not in the nosebleed section. I'm kind of like 2 sections down from that. And I heard something. I turned around. I had this just weird feeling, and I turned around. And I looked behind me, and right behind me, probably an aisle away from me. You know how you have that split in the aisle between the sections so you can walk,
Yeah.
He's there on the motorcycle. And he goes, and he sees me turned around, and he goes, shh, like this. And I just smiled and turned back around. But that was
rode
wild.
Down the stairs back onto the stage, didn't he?
Yeah, I was like in the last row before, surely I wasn't the only one that saw him. But most of the people are looking forward and didn't catch it. I just thought it was 1.5 feet for him to get from the damn stage to behind me in that amount of time. Holy shit. I don't know. I have no clue how he did that.
He employs doubles too. Let me tell you that.
Oh, does he?
I know people that worked his show in Vegas, and I know some of his secrets.
Well, don't tell me, because it just makes me mad. I was stupid, didn't see it.
It just ruins it for you. Same with
it does. It does.
Chris Angel.
No good could come from it. No good could come from it unless you're doing it yourself to pull a quarter from behind a kid's ear, or pull I always hated all that clown stuff. I didn't think it was funny, like the squirting water, flour, and all that shit. That's not funny.
Yeah.
It's annoying. Get away from me. I mean, I might, look, I'll give you a hug. Leave me alone. I had to hug Michael Myers at the haunted firehouse one Halloween. Ever tell you that story?
I don't think so.
I didn't tell you the time I hugged Michael Myers. Okay, I'll tell you real fast. I was depressed because my kids were getting older, and they're not going to trick or treat. And here I am with a hot glue gun and a whole, thing full of material and whatnot. I could make costumes, not getting a chance. So, and no trick or treaters because we're way out in the rural nowhere. So they surprised me and took me to the local firehouse, haunted house on Halloween night. And it was great. They did a great job. I mean, they really went all out. There was stuff there that I don't like, with the chainsaw people running at you and stuff like that. They had this big old clown that was on stilts, and you just knew he was something. But
I
my
agree
story
with Scott there. Clowns are just creepy. I don't care who it is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, you're going to love this story, Scott. So it's a real tall clown, and it's in this like toy room section that you walk through. And you can see, I know, and you can see it got just the right amount of eerie light and everything. They did, like I said, did a good job. And this guy, I know he's coming, or he's going to get somebody. It's always me. It's always me when I'm in a group. And he reaches, all he has to do is like lean down, and he can reach right into the crowd, and his face came right here. And I just screamed. I had a hold of my son's coat. He wore the big down coat because he knew he was going to get punched and grabbed and kicked because he was with me. Instead of hitting them, I hit my own children. I know. Don't get me, YouTube. They were adult males at this point. It's okay. So I got a hold of his down coat, and I like just hide my face, just scream. And you hate it and you love it at the same time. And I turned back around, and he's like further away, and I went, do it again. And he did it again. I went, it's the same thing. I mean, if you're going to go, have fun, right? If you're going to go, have fun. But clowns, man, I don't like so I always told my sons, it's not scary. Why are you watching this Michael Myers stuff and this? And, who's the other one that walks real slow? Is it Halloween? It's Halloween, isn't it? There's Halloween, and then there's Friday the 13th, and they're both real slow walking, but they always get there, like the Mummy kind of, right? Yeah. And they're always walking real slow, and the person's falling down and looking backwards and all over the place, just making a mess of themselves. And this guy's just
the thing about the Mummy. The Mummy never scared me. Just run, or throw a match on him, and then run, or grab one of his bandages and run. You spin around
and unspin him like Scooby-Doo. So, they're just methodically walking, right? And I kept saying, that's not scary. I know you want to see something really scary, that kind of thing. So we go, and I'm standing there because I want to tell the guy, that's kind of the maitre d', the ghost host, I guess, that, great job. Thanks a lot. You made my Halloween, right? And I was waiting to talk to him next, and everybody was coming out and shaking his hands and stuff. Thank you for the time, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, I see the guy look up and look behind me. And I hate that when it happens, because that means there's something behind me. And I turn around and I look, and it's Michael Myers. And the kid in this is doing a great job. He's just tall and skinny. He's got the green. It's perfect. The green Carhartt suit, And I'm like, oh, geez. And the reason I try to get away from these people is because I'm a puncher. I'm trying not to hurt anybody. I tell everybody, don't just jump up behind me and scare me, because I'm going to turn around swinging, and I don't want to hurt anybody. But I just know me. I've seen me do it. So I'm trying to get away from this kid, and he's following me. And I'm like, okay, that's enough. It's funny. Happy Halloween. Ha. And I'm walking, and he's just methodically coming after me. And I'm like, okay, all right. All right, cut it out now. It's cute. I appreciate it. I'm good. Thanks so much. And I walk a little bit more, turn around, he's right there again. So I actually start becoming the person in the freaking horror movie where they're trying to get away faster and kind of looking for a way out. This kid is just following me. And I'm like going down this gravel parking lot where my car is. And I come around. I'm like, okay, that's it. Get away from me. I'm good. I don't want to hurt you. Lots of fun. And I'm saying all stuff like this as I'm walking backwards and tripping, as I'm trying to get away faster. And like I said, I turned into that person, and I go to open the car, and now I can see my family standing off in the distance, just laughing their asses off. They're loving every minute of this. And I'm wondering if they paid this guy. So now I'm getting mad. I'm trying to open my door. Door's locked. I don't have the key. And I'm actually that person, and I go, and he gets right up on me. And the only thing I could think of to do is go, I'm giving you a hug. And I just hugged him, and he hugged me back. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And then he starts doing it again. I said, dude, if you don't get away from me, I won't bust you. I've had enough. But it's funny how you work up into that fast. When you've got something, of course, most people are running away because they don't want to get stabbed. I'm running away from the guy because I don't want to stab him. You know what I mean? But didn't want to go to jail on Halloween night. So anyway, reaching back into the 70s, I found a movie called Mysteries from Beyond Earth. And it is very much so like a Chariots of the Gods, like Monsters and Mysteries, like all of those In Search ofs and things like that. It's really a good movie. And because it's old, we get to see it. So I made a little video to take us back to the year that it was put out. And there was a lot of good movies and a lot of good documentaries and miniseries and movies of the week.
Right?
Yep, 1975.
There was a lot of Bigfoot movies and stuff then. Then you had some big blockbusters too. Jaws, Towering Inferno.
Lots of disaster movies. That's so many, and you might forget. So that's why you have a Cisco, because I made a little video to help you remember what 1975 was like. You ready, Steve? You're going to love this. You're going to freaking love this. Are you ready?
I think I was in 6th or 7th grade.
If it's too loud, I can turn it. Right? Well, this was the year I was in high school. I was living with my aunt and uncle. I had 2 older cousins, both guys. They both had muscle cars. Everybody had muscle cars. Our parking lot looked like a car show. If you go back to 1975 and imagine the parking lot at the high school, you know what I mean? At the high school, everybody's big brother would drive you in. It was very much like that 70s show.
Had the Novas and the Camaros, and everything was jacked up in the back. And had
hell
big
yeah,
tires in the
chrome Krager mags, Hearst on the floor,
Earth shifter, cherry bomb mufflers.
Oh my god! Oh, geez, Mustangs and
Those were the
Camaros
days,
and
I'm telling you.
Dusters and El Caminos and custom vans and the music and the movies and it's so funny. I said that 70s show. I started thinking about cars. I can remember the kids that got their dad's car. And you remember the car that what was his name? Was it Eric? The kid, the kind of not Kelso, but or the other one. But
Eric
the
was
main, I think
the
it was
one that
yeah,
the Red's kid.
Red, and he
yeah.
got red station wagon. Remember or something?
Yeah.
It was so funny. It's so funny. Well, let me see what everybody's saying. Geez, in 1975, I was getting ready to go to university. Vixendale. Wow. Yep. Kragers.
What else happened?
Grown
Betamax
Krager
was
Megs,
released
man.
that year.
Yep.
The Vietnam War ended.
Was it,
There
Glenn?
was a lot of big stuff in 75.
I understand, man. I was
Maggie Thatcher took power.
Yeah. Margaret
I don't
Thatcher.
remember
Yep.
What else?
Mhm. Oh, Demon. Wow, 72 Demon. Wow, is 8. Wow. Look at this. All right. Well, for those Eric Foreman, that's right. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Couldn't
Thank
remember
you
the
so much,
Foreman
Kathita.
part.
So it was very much like them. I can remember riding around in cars and everybody, you're going to the mall.
Yeah.
You're going to go look at albums. You're going to go get an orange, whatever, Julius. You're going to
Orange
go
Julius at the
hang
mall.
out at the
Go to
Mayan
Record
Earth
Bar, or
Bar.
Licorice Pizza, or Tower Records, or Sam Goody's.
Oh God, yes, Sam Goody's. Hell yeah.
Go to Spencer's and laugh at all the adult themed merchandise.
Yep, drive-ins, man.
Drive-ins were still a big thing.
I saw
somebody we mentioned last week, Patty Hearst. That all happened in 75.
Hell yeah, so much. So let's see what else happened in 75. You ready to go back? We're going to go way back. Who was that? Was that Bullwinkle? Way back machine, and you would just get the spins.
It was Simon and Mr. Peabody, but it was
Mr.
on the
Peabody.
Yeah,
way back.
Mr.
Machine.
Peabody and his boy Simon.
And we're going to circle around. Here we go. If it's too loud, I'll turn it down. Let me know. Here we go. Way back.
Hoping you're going to have one of them fall.
Watergate. That's how he does it. That's the story.
Middlelands.
God only knows. Look at that. Mary Tyler Moore. There he is. The Thriller and the Gorilla. Razors down. Razors down. Look at those. Wow. 1975. Rollerball.
Rocky
That was a good
Horror
flick. James
Bronco
Rocky
Stick.
Horror. Yep. Benji. Rocky Horror Picture Show. Dr. Scott. For the toilet paper. Monty Python. Look at this year. Cooley High. I love that movie. Trilogy of Terror.
Aaron Black, yep.
Hindenburg. Turn of the Pink Panther. Walking Tall 2. Tommy. I hated that thing. Airport, 1975. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Shampoo. Remember that one? Look at that Zenith.
I had one that looked a lot like that. My parents did.
Yep. $6 Million Man. Beretta.
Beretta.
Remember the cockpit?
Brett.
Yeah.
Yeah. Saturday Night Live.
Yep. That was the only time it was funny.
One day at a time. Rescue Hutch.
Yep. Rockford Files. Loved him. God had a crush on
All
him.
the Family.
Yep.
Welcome Back Connor.
Yep. Barnaby
Barney
Jones.
Miller.
Barney Miller. Yes. Yes. Here we go.
Disgusting fans. Basically, a lot of those were bedroom home
So many. Oh God, yeah. This man's rocking. Don't bother knocking. Ass, grass, or ass. What is it?
Nobody
Ass,
rides for free.
grass, or ass. Nobody rides for free. Bowie. Look at this music, man. Remember her? That's the end.
Eagles. Just going to be like Santa.
Yep. The posters, man. These are all posters of concerts in 75. And Gus! Oh boy. God bless him. Look at this concert. Bag Company, Nazareth, Status Quo, Procol Harum. Oh my God. Rolling Stones. Zappa. Aerosmith. Lou Reed. Lou Reed. Bowie. Death Row Tall, man. Rock and roll flute, babe. The Who. Pete Townsend, man. Well, he's a crazy son of a bitch. The Eagles, like the soundtrack of my life and growing up, you know. Zeppelin, song remained the same. Saw it in the drive-in. Look at the Eagles, how young. Half of them are gone almost. The band.
Yeah, Randy Meisner died
Nazareth.
not too long ago. Glenn Fry before that.
That album, 75. Kiss. God, I hate Kiss so bad. Oh man, Hendrik. Look at this. This is what our computer rooms look like, folks, when I was in high school. Well, a little even older than that.
leisure suits.
We were hip. We were hip, Steve. Look at those guys, man. Look at that hair. Soul Train. Soul Train. First disposable razor in 1975. There she is with the
Cher.
Osmonds. Look at that lineup. Look at those outfits. Oh my God.
Osmonds with a
Farrah.
hair faucet.
Look at that hairstyle. That band had no business being in that place. Ford. I'll do a show on Ford one day. 10-cent stamp. Hustler Magazine of the Year. Killer Angels won the Pulitzer Prize in 1975. Michael Shara. Stevie Wonder. Look at that. Best album of the year. Three's Company. There's a station wagon. All right. This is the movie, folks. What'd you think?
Oh, that was a trip back down memory lane.
I'm telling you what. I mean, I was shocked to see Killer Angels. It's got to be one of my favorite books. It won the Pulitzer Prize in 1975, Michael Shara. And of course, y'all know that that's what the movie Gettysburg is done after. And then he wrote Gods and Generals, which is the beginning of the Civil War. Killer Angels is Gettysburg. And then Last Full Measure of Devotion is the end of the war and a little bit of recovery. But I was shocked to see that. I had no idea for 75. I was shocked on how many disaster movies. The Hindenburg. I forgot all about that one.
Yeah, I forgot
Earthquake.
about that one.
That was earlier, though, in the early 70s, I think. Poseidon Adventure. I don't know what year that was, but all these big disaster movies. Towering Inferno and Poseidon Adventure was huge. Planet of the Apes came out around that time, too. And I think Soylent Green. All around in that whole time. It's but that was just 75. You couldn't even decide what to go see at the movies. We used to go midnight every Saturday that we could get away and walk down to the little theater in Belmar, New Jersey, and watch Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yep.
And take the rice and the toilet paper and the whole thing, and people would bring the cassette tape to the lunchroom and play it and do the time warp and stuff. You know, it's people. It's really great. It's people. Keep your eye out, folks. Let's hope that's not a thing. When I was 16, then life was so good. Yeah, I'm telling you, we were getting in trouble, having fun. Oh, golly. Wasn't that something? All right. So, Steve, if you want to go stretch yourself, if Mulder wants to get a cigarette or whatever, we're going to watch a little bit of this together.
Mulder switched to a vape with me. So.
Oh, what flavor is that? Is that Cocoa Puffs? What is that?
This is exotic cola too. It tastes like a dollar store cola, but with a menthol flavor added. It's a weird flavor, but it's good. Yeah, I finished off the Frankenberry.
I don't think I'd ever think of putting those two things together. That's amazing. What does it actually taste like? Mint cola?
It tastes like you took
almost like a mojito without the rum.
Took a hit off a menthol cigarette.
All right. Wait a minute. Let's get thee to spell. What do you do? What do you got here, honey? Braille? What's going on? Oh, flower power. That's great, man. All right. Yeah. Tina Turner, Olivia Newton-John, all kinds of different. Man, it was something. And for TV shows too, like, $6 Million Man. I mean, I was never really into that one, but I was Beretta, loved Beretta, Kojak. I didn't have a lot of time for TV. We were out. I was in a band. I was gone all the time. But I remember when Roots came on. I remember when Centennial was I think was being turned into a screenplay around 75. I remember reading about it today. But all those stamps were 10 cents, gas was 44 cents, rent was average was $200 a month for rent. You get a car, one of those cars for like $4,000. That's
you get a nice car for $4,000 back then, like a Mustang.
When they first came out, I believe they were around $2,000, and they were made supposedly for the housewife to sport around in. It was like came out like 3 or 4. Was it 5 colors it came out with? It was the white, the banana buttercream, whatever that color's called, and I think yellow and
I thought there was
red,
a blue,
blue or black. I can't remember. Somebody tell me the 5 colors that Mustangs came out in when they were originally developed, but they were around $2,000. And I know it was,
What year was that? 66.
I want to say earlier than that.
Remember.
I would say probably earlier than that. Around the same time as the
Barbie.
Barbie. Our Barbie in her little black and white striped one-piece outfit. Boy, that sure got shredded down, didn't it? She used to have with a nice little ponytail on top of her head, nice blue eyeshadow, and very, look what's happened to Barbie now. So here's the movie, guys. It is called Mysteries of from Beyond Earth, and it's done very much in that. What was his name? Alan.
Mustang came out 64, the first
64.
One.
I knew it was early 64.
I was off by a couple of years.
I didn't want to say 2, but sometimes I get confused because
they went into production in 64. The model year was a 65.
65.
One, so.
And there's a 60 something and a half, isn't there?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Put a half on there and see if it doesn't correct you. There was very few. I know it's weird, right?
Camaro and Pontiac Firebird came out in 67.
That's true, Glenn. He made a lot of that up.
Plymouth Barracuda.
The feeling to the story, the feeling to the characters and all that stuff in Roots was very real. All of that historical, it was very real. But the characters and that being his family and all that was just made up. He took that from multiple different places and then pretended it was real, which is the sad part because it took away from the message. It should have been known, because a lot of times when you went up to people, even now, and say, do you know what the Middle Passage is? I guarantee you, 7 out of 10 people are going to go, what? Some will think about it and get it, but there's very few. I'm probably giving too much credit there. It's probably a lot lower, and people should know. People should know the struggles that cultures have gone through to get to where they are now and stop the nonsense and just let people be. And every culture has earned the right to just be free in the pursuit of happiness, around the world. It's way past that point. And as long as you're not getting your peanut butter in somebody else's chocolate, plain and simple, just do you, right? Until it starts bothering other people to the point, where they can't pursue their own happiness. You ain't promised happiness. You can just pursue it. So let's watch a little bit of this. And if you want to, I think you're going to like it because it's a lot of different things all in one. Some of this stuff with the auras and the energy in plants and the studies they were doing back there just absolutely amazes me. It's like that Bigfoot one we watched, Steve, that they had it all then. And I don't see very much, 50 years later, what we've gotten any different from all of these subjects, I mean, I think we maybe
got more questions than we started with.
Yeah. We might have a little more evidence or opened our minds a little bit more and broadened our, our thoughts about it. But, I think they had a lot back there. A lot. I'm going to go get more hot water. I'm here. Little too. I knew it. I'm just not good with numbers. Thanks, Jack.
As his own. We know now that as human beings busied themselves about their various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied, perhaps almost as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. With infinite complacence, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or by design, man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space.
They were
And
some kind of
across an
serious,
immense
guys.
ethereal gulf, minds that are to our minds as ours are to the beasts in the jungle, intellects vast, cool, and unsympathetic, regarded this earth with envious eyes, and slowly and surely drew their plans against us. So began a science fiction bestseller published more than 75 years ago. H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds. It was written and read as harmless entertainment. Science fiction was just...
I got it up as loud as I can get it, hon, and I didn't want to record it too loud. I tried to get it as high as I could because it really distorts on these old 70s TV. So if you can turn it up where you are, I would appreciate it, or put in headphones. I won't do any jump scares or anything. I don't think the second part may be louder because I had to go get it from someplace else, because the one copy was kind of messed up there. So I think that one's louder. It might just be this first part, but can y'all get through? Yeah. And your earplugs are real low? Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know how to turn it up. Let's see if I can try one more. Hang on.
It's becoming popular. Fairy tales for adults. And yet that world of science fiction is all around us right now. Less fictional with every passing day. The evidence is here. Our planet is indeed being visited.
Sorry, baby.
By intelligences greater than man's.
Well, for the love of God, let's hope so. Because here lately, just saying.
They travel in spaceships, in flying saucers.
Here they come.
People all around the world are seeing these craft. The Italians call them disci volanti. The French, soucoupe volant. The Russians, letayuschi targelki. In America, we call them UFOs. There are literally thousands of police and pilot...
Just so you know, that little click right there, that is exactly what people in 1975 had to change their TV and turn it up and turn it down. It was a 2-button. That's all you had for a Zenith or whatever you had. And it's so funny to hear that click.
Reports of UFOs, and over 900 landing trace cases have been documented. Cases where soil chemistry has changed. Swirled circles
I love that
testify to tremendous centrifugal force where something massive landed. But what? The military spokesmen of the great powers are suspiciously silent. Only one thing is certain. No earthly power has built aircraft that execute right-angled turns at supersonic speeds. And such craft are consistently seen and photographed tracking our test planes and space vehicles.
Where do these alien craft come from? And what are their powers? And why are they visiting us?
Damn straight.
Are they perhaps reminding us that we are part of a vast cosmic connection, that we have links, even kinship, with worlds beyond Earth? Or are they, as more and more people believe, trying to tell us that the knowledge we need to survive, to grow, is right here on planet Earth, hidden in our science and in our past?
Our planet is in crisis, and some say all this has happened before, a long, long time ago, to that mysterious, fabled land, the lost continent of Atlantis.
Oh, I got to stop it there to say something. 1975. Whoever was walking around then, and you can remember, do you remember the little E, the little green E for ecology? Everybody had it on their car and book bags and book covers and all this other stuff. We were going through an energy crisis. And there was an awful lot of stuff out there that kept saying, that was a big narrative. And everybody had to conserve electricity and water. And you had the crying Indian who was really an Italian and never was an Indian, Native American, and had the tier with all the garbage. You had all kinds of stuff like that. This happens every other few decades, and it goes back and forth. Just so you know, you hear what he said? The world is in crisis. It was in crisis supposedly 50 years ago. Then it was okay, and then it was an ozone hole, had a hole in it, and then it was something else. So just believe me, there are cycles of this shit. For anybody who wants to know.
In the 4th century BC, Plato in his dialogues vividly described an island continent beyond the Pillars of Hercules called Atlantis. Ancient Mesopotamian tablets refer to a land destroyed by the Great Flood. The Book of Genesis, the Koran, Mayan legends, the Epic of Gilgamesh, all speak of this once flourishing civilization, whose science, it is said, surpassed ours at the moment of its destruction. What became of Atlantis? According to the records of Egyptian priests, in one cataclysmic day and night, the entire continent sank into the depths of the ocean. Russian physicist Immanuel Velikovsky has suggested that Atlantis became the lost continent after a shift in the Earth's axis. Famous psychic Edgar Cayce believed that by misusing the powers of the mind and interrupting the evolution of the planet, Atlantis became the victim of its own perverted super science. And the people of Atlantis, what happened to them? Were they all destroyed? Or did some survive the Holocaust and migrate by sea and air to other lands? Did some Atlanteans retreat into the ocean and establish a magnificent undersea kingdom that still flourishes there today? Or did they, with their advanced technology, escape into outer space? And have they perhaps, since man first left records on cave walls, been returning in their spaceships to observe us as we build the new Atlantis? What evidence is there that man himself was not the sole architect of the Earth's great ancient structures? Did we indeed get a little help from our friends from space? The Great Pyramid of Giza is the height of a 40-story skyscraper. It's built with 2.25 million stone blocks, some weighing 24,000 pounds apiece. Blocks supposedly hauled hundreds of miles by slaves and beasts of burden. And what are the knowledge necessary for the construction of such a monument? We know now that the Great Pyramid was built facing true north in the exact center of the land map of the world. Not the known world of 2575 BC, but the entire world as we know it today. The only way its architects could have derived such calculations would have been to survey the Earth from high in the air, make a global map, project it flat, then draw meridians through the precise center of the map's land surface. Either that or the information was provided for them by someone else, someone capable of aerial reconnaissance. Some of the pyramids in Spanish America, land of the ancient Mayan, Aztec, and Toltec civilizations, predate even those of Egypt. Tiwanaku, the oldest city in South America, is said to have been constructed by a race of giants whose homeland was destroyed by a great flood. Archaeologists have discovered amazing similarities in architecture and artifacts in Egypt and at Tiwanaku. Similarities which have led some scholars to suggest that these two civilizations might have a common source. That perhaps Egypt was the principal colony of Atlantis in the Old World, while Tiwanaku was one of the drowned continent's colonial outposts.
I got to stop here for a second because I got to point something out. Are we not saying this exact same thing right now? Is there not a show on about ancient aliens that go in and they measure the laser depth and the cuts and the measurements on these pyramids as well as the ones on other continents and all, all this different stuff, where they say that there's no machines or no tools or anything that could produce that today as accurately? I don't know. I think probably a 3D printer could, not that big, but you get what I'm saying. To do this to this stone and have it be the same and the same measurements as here and other places. Are they not saying the same thing today? And also, when you go back to the pictures of and the stories of the flying saucers or whatever they're calling them at that time, or the UFOs, whatever, they're showing you pictures of craft. You've got that typical saucer look with the little dome. Some of them are just like the saucery kind. Their pilots are turning this information in, all kinds of stuff, right? The same stuff they're telling you today, the same stuff that they're trying to tell people like it's new and saying, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and admit that there's been some stuff going on. There's been some crashes that we kept from people for national security reasons. Stop it, national security. You can't say national security on the same day in the same place that you have people from multiple countries rolling over your border. Do you feel what I'm saying here? And they're telling you in Congress and places like this right now over the past couple of weeks, and they're releasing information like we hadn't heard it before, like we didn't know. This is 75, and it's the same thing. Just had to say it. Somebody got to say it. Might as well put my neck out there. I'm a poor man without collarbones. That poor guy didn't even get to do the job. Jeez.
The sacred books and folklore of widely separated lands all tell of days when gods visited this planet wrapped in clouds or conveyed by fiery chariots. Are the gigantic statues on Easter Island faithful representations of ancient astronauts or Atlantean giants? And what of Stonehenge, Neolithic computer of the Druids? The parallel is not far-fetched, for it would take an IBM computer to decipher the functions of this calendar monument, to predict coming eclipses from the complex alignment of the massive stone slabs, each marking a position of the sun and the moon. And more astonishing, the inner measurements of Stonehenge in England and the dimensions of the Great Pyramid in Egypt both indicate the precise number of days in a solar year, which seems to suggest that the architects of these distant structures had access to the same information, perhaps even worked from a master set of blueprints. The question is, why? Imagine, if you will, a single team of architects traveling from continent to
Way
continent,
back, way back,
employing
way
local
back,
people
way
to
back,
construct
way back.
navigational aids, great beacons that could be seen from craft orbiting planet Earth. Beacons still operational today. Certainly the most permanent evidence that advanced civilizations have been visiting this planet since ancient times may be seen in these time-defying monuments, a world apart. But let us consider what is happening in our skies today.
It was exactly 8:05 p.m. when Air Defense Command received word that a mysterious light was hovering low on the horizon just northeast of Rapid City, South Dakota. Radar operators at Ellsworth Air Force Base shifted their attention to the northeast quadrant of the sky and immediately picked up an unidentified target. Air traffic control quickly contacted an F-84 patrolling in the west, asked for an interception, and vectored the jet toward the UFO. A moment later, the jet's radar picked up the unidentified return and locked on. The plane was just 3 miles from its target when the light suddenly moved away with a fantastic burst of speed. The pursuit lasted for 120 miles, but the jet could not gain on the object. Finally, the pilot abandoned the chase. At ground control, the fascinated radar men watched the unknown object change direction and trailed the jet back to the airfield.
The evidence is overwhelming. The planet Earth is being visited by intelligently controlled extraterrestrial vehicles.
There he is, folks.
In other words, some UFOs are somebody else's spacecraft. There are no good arguments against UFO reality if we consult the evidence.
Stanton T. Friedman, nuclear physicist and lecturer, has been consulting the evidence on UFOs for over 15 years.
One of the most extraordinary cases he has studied recently was that of Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker, two
This is absolutely so good. And I know we've seen part of this on another show a couple of years ago that I did because it's a good story. This young man right here about lost his mind. I don't know what happened to him, but he just couldn't wrap his head around it and got all kind of PTSD. And I don't know what they're calling it in here, but that's what you would say today. And I feel terrible for him. Listen close.
shipyard workers from Pascagoula, Mississippi, who claimed that while fishing on the bank of the Pascagoula River, a strange craft emitting a bluish light descended and hovered just above the oyster flat 30 feet away from them. Hickson later described how 3 silvery creatures floated out of the craft, grabbed him, and floated him aboard.
It was some kind of zipping sound, and when I turned around in this area out here, about 40 or 50 feet out there, there was some kind of craft, you know. It looked like it was going to come right onto the ground. But it came on down and hovered about a foot and a half or 2 feet off of the ground. But we didn't know what to do, you know. The river behind us and that out there not knowing what it was. So, and then before we had time to really do anything, it seemed like an opening appeared. Toward the end, it was, you know, toward us. And the blue light, it had blue flashing lights as it was, you know, approaching the ground, but then they went out. And when the opening appeared, some source of light came from the inside. It was just almost blinding.
Some UFO reports are hard even for governments to dismiss, especially when there are photographs to support the witnesses.
At approximately 15 minutes to 10 Monday evening, several citizens from the East Los Angeles area phoned our station and stated that they were observing what they thought was an unidentified flying object. After receiving several of these phone calls, Officer Weinkoop and I were dispatched into the East Los Angeles area to investigate these possible sightings. We observed the object traveling in a southwesterly direction and gave pursuit of the object. While in pursuit, I was passenger officer and I was broadcasting a pursuit to my division watch commander, Sergeant Tigroin of Hollenbeck Division, LAPD. During the pursuit, I managed to take one photograph. This photograph negative was booked into police property using this report and this divisional record number.
The spacecraft was oval shaped on top and underneath, like a large pancake blown up in the middle. It did not have any dome like many of them have reported to have had. And
I gotta say, this guy right here, I'm sorry guys, but that young man right there is the most efficient. He, you know, goodness, just hats off to him. Can you imagine? And here's something else you might want to think about. Have you lately, in the past couple months, seen any kind of video on Nuke's Top, whatever, Nuke's Top 5 or Slap Tam or any other of the things on the inner tubes, whatever, where the family looked out the window. They heard something land or saw something land, a green light or something green. And they reported that they had things in their backyard that were really tall, but more than 8 feet tall. They were scared. And there was some chicanery going on. The cops got there. They were very nice. And one of the police officers on his way, I believe one of the officers said that his partner, but, he was in another car, saw the green light as well. So they went and they were really nice to this family, except when they went around the backyard, they blacked out the photo and said it was for the privacy of the people that just stood in the front yard, their own front yard, in their PJs and sweatshirts. I think somebody had a robe on. It was at night. And have you ever seen police footage like that get cut off because you're going into somebody's backyard that's walking with you on a situation like this? So what are they hiding? 50 years ago, 1975, these young officers are out there talking about the same daggum thing. It's just mind-blowing to me.
At approximately 15 minutes to 10 Monday evening, several citizens from the East Los Angeles area phoned our station and stated that they were observing what they thought was an unidentified flying object. After receiving several of these phone calls, Officer Weinkoop and I were dispatched into the East Los Angeles area to investigate these possible sightings. We observed the object traveling in a southwesterly direction and gave pursuit of the object. While in pursuit, I was passenger officer and I was broadcasting a pursuit to my division watch commander, Sergeant Tegron of Hollenbeck Division, LAPD. During the pursuit, I managed to take one photograph. This photograph negative was booked into police property using this report and this divisional record number.
The spacecraft was oval shape on top and underneath, like a large pancake blown up in the middle. It did not have any dome like many of them have reported to have had. And it seemed to be about 200 feet in diameter and about 30 feet high.
One of the best photographic sequences on record was taken of a UFO over Trindade Island off the coast of Brazil. Military and civilian observers on the Brazilian training ship Almirante Saldanha saw this metallic craft nearly 150 feet long moving in over the sea to circle the island. A professional photographer aboard the ship grabbed his camera and took these photographs, which were officially released to the world by Juscelino Kubitschek, then president of Brazil, as authentic UFO pictures. Evidence of UFO activity over water mounts steadily. Jacques Cousteau has reportedly investigated UFO sightings over South America's Lake Titicaca. Thor Heyerdahl saw strange glowing masses underwater during his famous Kon-Tiki voyage. And there are literally hundreds of reports from marine scientists and ship's crews of mysterious undersea craft. What is the connection between UFOs and water? Are extraterrestrials using the oceans of our world as highly developed bases for successive space expeditions? Or are these craft, as some people believe, piloted by descendants of Atlantean survivors who sought refuge long ago under the sea? What evidence is there to support this speculation? We now have the means to explore our ocean floors, and divers have located vast stretches of what appear to be the paving stones of giants. Stones as huge as the blocks that built the pyramids, crisscrossing the ocean bed in mid-Atlantic. Archaeologists have found the walkways and pillars of an ancient sunken temple off the coast of Bimini in the Bahamas. Are these undersea structures traces of one of the cities of Atlantis?
Consider the mysterious triangle-shaped area in the Caribbean Sea that extends from the edge of the Gulf Stream about 150 miles east of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to 40 degrees west latitude in the mid-Atlantic. Known in olden times as the Sargasso Sea, this area is a graveyard of the unexplained. It's a place where strange things happen to compasses. Strange things happen to time.
Down through the centuries, this watery graveyard has claimed Spanish galleons, windjammers, steamships, supertankers, pleasure yachts, and aircraft. Almost all disappeared without trace, as if the tentacles of some mythical monster had reached out and seized them. This area is known today as the Bermuda Triangle, or Devil's Triangle.
On December 5th, 1945, 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers under the command of Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor took off from Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station on a routine navigational mission. Surface winds of 20 knots, skies clear, visibility unlimited. Suddenly, just 15 minutes before the flight was due to land, Fort Lauderdale Tower picked up Lieutenant Taylor's frantic voice. The time, 4 p.m.
Calling a tower. This is an emergency. We seem to be off course. We cannot see land. Repeat, we cannot see land. What is your position? We're not sure of our position. We can't be sure just where we are. We seem to be lost. Assume bearing due west. Well, we don't know which way is west. Everything is wrong. We can't be sure of any direction. Looks like we're entering white water now. I tell you, we're completely lost.
Then, at 4:25 p.m.,
we're completely lost. And then, silence. Forever. Immediately, the Navy dispatched a Martin PBM Mariner flying boat, a huge craft with electronic tracking gear, with enough fuel to remain airborne for 24 hours. Aboard, a crew of 13. By 7:04 p.m., the Mariner 2 was missing. In 3 short hours, the Triangle had literally swallowed up 6 planes and 27 trained men. By dawn the following day, the greatest air-sea rescue search ever launched was underway. 242 aircraft and 18 ships scoured the area known as the Devil's Triangle, but not a trace was found. Not an oil slick, not a piece of wreckage, not a life raft. Nothing.
There's no comprehensive list of Triangle victims, but the litany of lost ships alone reads like a guest list from Davy Jones's locker. United States ship Nina, United States ship Grampus, the steamships Santa Clara, Star Ariel, the Home Sweet Home, the steamships Hewitt, Corner, Slocum, the Marine Sulphur Queen, the Southern District, the City Belle, the George Boston, the Raifuku Maru, and on and on and on. Ship names that descend from mythology, the steamship Rubicon, the Nereus, the Proteus, the Cyclops, the Constellation, the steamship Witchcraft. Theories about the Triangle range from piracy to tunnels into other dimensions, other time zones. Physicists have suggested that the lost ships and planes may have been victims of a magnetic phenomenon that disrupts radio communications, causes flight instruments to malfunction, but there is no conclusive. The ominous question remains. Is this area controlled by some unknown intelligence? In order to survive,
quite the opposite.
Deep space, man is developing new tools, mind tools, telepathy, clairvoyance, psychokinesis. The young Israeli psychic Uri Geller, who's puzzled scientists with his ability to bend metal with his mind and to dematerialize objects, claims that the power to
I have no idea what's going on there. Let's just roll with it.
do this is channeled through him from an extraterrestrial intelligence. Well, if Geller is right, we all have a lot of new thinking to do. Meanwhile, the governments of both Russia and America are quietly sponsoring psychic research. Both countries has seriously considered using telepathy, the direct transference of thought from one mind to another, as a means of communicating with submarines and spaceships. Another country where ESP research is being carried out with the utmost objectivity is Czechoslovakia.
Here in a Czech laboratory, we are watching an experiment in telepathy. The subject is being placed in a deep hypnotic trance in order to free the unconscious to receive the message which will be relayed to him. First, the subject is placed in a deep hypnotic trance.
That would scare the living shit out of me.
In this experiment, it is essential that there be no outside interference, that the subject's mind be clear to receive the mental message that will be flashed to him. Now the experimenter, previously unknown to the sleeping subject, selects at random an envelope which contains the name of a spice. Pepper.
Pepper, Steve.
He tastes it, and then mentally tries to
It's all about the
convey
pepper.
full taste of the spice to the hypnotized subject.
Look at this. Look what he does, though.
Now the scientist is saying to him, "What I taste, you also will taste. What is it?" And the reply comes almost immediately, pepper.
How crazy is that? Way back, way back, way back, way back, way back, way back.
Psychokinesis, the ability to move physical
This
objects
lady is
with the force of the
freaky,
mind,
man.
is also a subject of intense interest to science and to the military. Here in Leningrad, under strictest test conditions, talented, sensitive Nina Kulagina makes the magnetic needle of a compass rotate by sheer mind energy.
That's amazing, isn't it? I wonder if you could do that if you tried, if it would be a good exercise for your
Russian scientists have found
to
that while
exercise
demonstrating this ability,
your psychic
the
muscle.
magnetic field surrounding Madame Kulagina's body
Look,
is only 10 times
There
less
she goes.
powerful
Look at her.
than that of the Earth itself. Using this same
Look at
energy,
that.
Madame Kulagina can also make non-magnetic objects like these matchsticks shielded under glass.
She's gonna build an
Toward
entire
her
cabin with
across
those
the table.
matchsticks, Steve. Just
I
gonna
want to
take
see
a
her light
minute.
one.
She's gonna take a
See
minute.
her light one.
That would be good to add to the show. See, that's what she'd have to do next time. She'd have to light one. I think that's amazing. That's what
In the
Yuri
Philippines,
did, bend
psychic
spoons and
surgeons
stuff,
are
right?
reportedly performing
Yep.
major operations on patients without using any
Oh,
surgical
I can't
instruments
stand looking at this.
and
Don't
Yeah,
look.
the psychic surgery, that's all bunkum right there.
Yet the
That
surgery
freaks me
appears
out.
to
I
be
don't like
painless,
looking at it.
And paranormal healing
Look
takes
away,
place
everybody.
almost immediately.
Don't
The
look.
most
Don't look.
publicized of the surgeons, Tony Agboa, is removing a pituitary tumor from the forehead of a California
God, I don't wanna
businessman,
see that
Donald
shit.
Westerbeck, who flew to the Philippines after doctors had warned him of the risks involved in traditional surgery. Here
That
in
looks pretty
Westerbeck's own
risky to
voice
me.
is his description
With
of the
4
result
people
of his
pulling on your
operation.
eyes.
When I came to the Philippines, I was very dubious about
That was
this
very
entire
risky.
process, but I felt that it would be a shame to have the operation.
I mean, I'm not saying there's people that can't do it, but a lot of that was proven to be false.
Whatever comes out may or may not be the right
I'll
kind
be right
of
back.
tissue. It may well be symbolic, but it is now 2 years since that operation, and the symptoms, which were progressing quite rapidly, have pretty much disappeared. I know that whatever happened in the Philippines had a certain effect on the progress of what was happening within my head.
Is it over? Can I look? Are they still doing it?
They're doing Reiki or acupressure or
Okay,
something
that's
else.
better.
Reiki,
I'm serious.
however
I
you
don't.
say it.
I've got enough visions. I don't need any more. That stuff just play in my head.
You will be subject to psychic healing.
Just
You'll
get in
also
on
be subject to
rotation.
psychic readings,
All the
and
crap
they'll
I
help us
see in my
determine
head all
what
day.
your particular problem happens to be. The healers have this energy that flows through them, imparting a psychic energy and this energy will flow to whatever part of the body.
I think that most people that really get into healing professions feel like they have some kind of
Now I can tell you this works.
healing ability. They may not know what it is, but I think they get into healing because they're kind of led into it. I mean,
I've seen it work.
nurses, even chiropractors and others. Have you been doing any heat treatment or infrared or?
This observer is a licensed physician, an MD. One of the first to inquire into this unusual method of healing to see what it has to offer to his profession.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wouldn't that be nice to see today, Tom? Steve?
Yep.
Sit down and talk to you and take all of it into consideration and work hand in hand, so to speak.
This is a group of gifted sensitives who possess the extraordinary ability to diagnose a patient's illness by a method known as body scanning. They record their estimate of the possible illness by picking up vibrations directly from the sick person or by holding something belonging to her. Sometimes there is an actual transference of pain from the sick person to the diagnostician. The idea of an energy field or an aura surrounding the human body goes back many centuries. In biblical paintings, artists attempted to depict it by painting halos or aureolae, encircling the heads of divine religious figures.
It's true. Goes way back, the aura.
Rather more recently, this NASA picture shows Apollo 12 astronaut Pete Conrad on the moon with a bluish glow around him.
It's a trip, right?
The leading American center of psychic research is the University of California at Los Angeles, where research psychologist Dr. Thelma Moss is experimenting with Kirlian photography, a revolutionary technique invented by Russian scientists.
Did you ever do anything like that,
Semyon
Steve?
and Valentina Kirlian.
What's that?
Have you ever done anything like that? The Kirlian photography?
I've seen it done.
Both organic and inorganic objects. Dr. Moss, could you tell us about your research here at UCLA?
We've conducted about almost every area of research in parapsychology that includes telepathy, thoughts going from mind to mind, moving objects at a distance.
The University of California at Los Angeles.
Holy shit.
Where research psychologist Dr. Thelma Moss is experimenting
Sorry, guys,
with
been a long
Kirlian
day.
photography, a revolutionary technique invented by Russian scientists Semyon and Valentina Kirlian, which captures on photo
Of both are rather dim.
Check this out.
With a gap definitely existing.
His
between
fingerprint,
their
fingertips.
fingers At the point where they are almost but not quite touching.
You can take people that have had a finger amputated, do that, and the energy field is still there.
Wow.
Or a leaf that's had part of it cut off, it still shows up.
Toward each other,
The energy field is still there.
reaching out a bit more to the man than the man is toward the woman. Here we find an extraordinary example, which doesn't happen very often. Do you notice the red blob of light appearing between the two people?
That's two
In
people
anticipation,
kissing.
we like to think of the kiss to come. While kissing, the white and almost pink colors have become much more prominent, and it would seem the man on the left is perhaps enjoying the experience a little bit more than the person on the right.
Now, Dr. Moss has also observed through the Kirlian process the dynamic interchange of energy between a psychic healer and his patient. Apparently,
do you notice the red,
Holy
white,
crap.
and almost pink colors?
It's run amok, Cisco.
I know. All right, here. Let me fix this here. Sorry, guys. So, I know what it is. I cut out. They did a full-on black mass in this thing. I cut it out. I wasn't putting that on the airwaves.
Yeah, I don't
People
see that.
speaking in. Here we go. This is good. This is a haunted house.
first aware that the house was haunted.
Full-on black mass in Latin.
Yeah, and you have no idea what they're saying. I'd skip over
I'm
that
not
part
fluent in
too if
Latin.
see
I was.
anything like that.
Y'all want to go see that? It's all live on YouTube. I mean, I cut. Because they did that in the 70s, and I'll tell you, Aleister Crowley was up in all of that, all that satanic panic in the 70s and stuff. He was putting stuff in there. So, that's not a conspiracy. That's a fact, isn't it, Steve?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you play it back, you don't know what you're inviting in.
This is what I'm saying. So I did. You're welcome. I cut it all out. You can see it's in the full version on YouTube if you want it. Sorry for the mistakes there.
Christmas, 1969.
This is good.
You see
It's
or
cute.
hear something?
Well, it was more of a feeling than
It's
either
like
sound
Jethro
or
from the Beverly
sight.
Hillbillies.
It's one
I
of these
thought so
things
too.
that, there was an extremely strong
Big old
presence in the
Jethro
house,
bowl of
and
cereal.
I got up, I'd say it was 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and began to look around the house. I searched all the rooms expecting to find a burglar, but
The
there was
hair
no
and
one,
the sideburns
no
and
one
the
in
shirt.
the house. But
Yeah, baby.
very,
Rated
very strong presence.
Jethro's wardrobe.
Soon after this, Mr. and Mrs. Rice called in a psychic to find out if their house was indeed haunted. They were told that the ghost was that of a young architect who had become very disturbed and hanged himself upstairs.
Well, I would guess so. Good Lord, there goes our monetization. Shit. Another ghost does himself in, and I get cut off.
Downstairs, I'm a painter, and this individual had become such a familiar part of our family after a number of years that I more or less tried to communicate with him on working in this painting. I saw a man about 5 foot.
Looks just like him too, Steve.
Dark complected, wearing a white shirt rolled up to
The painting he does looks just like him.
Shirt, dark pants, and black shoes.
Architect.
There was an immediate effect of the painting taking shape. It was almost as if it were directed.
Looks just like him, can't you tell?
It's not really a painting of him as he looks. It's more of a feeling of his personality.
The
It's like a
California
Picasso.
Society for Psychical Research came to the Rice's house to investigate the case.
They're blowing glass in the chat, Steve.
And they went through the house and the
I love it when
parts
people
of
are
the house
creative. Here we
where
go.
they were, that they felt
She's going to
something,
tell
they
it.
would record that. They felt very strong feelings of him upstairs where he was supposed to have hung himself. But there were unusual noises up and down the stairs, and it sounded like someone walking up and down the stairs. They also saw him in the same light and described him in the same manner that we had seen him.
Much of their conclusions concurred with what we had told them ourselves.
In view of the 5 children, there are absolutely no problems whatsoever. They're very aware of what's happened. It really doesn't bother them. They're used to the idea. We've never been afraid of him, and it's never bothered us living here, and we've been here for 5 years. Actually, we've kind of enjoyed having him as a silent member of the family.
Ghost our pets, lady.
I am Lucretia Black, and I am a witch. I practice witchcraft. I have always been a witch. I was born a witch, I was raised a witch, and my mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother were all witches.
What is a witch?
It's a psychic female who can project her energies and invade other people's subconscious minds, forcing them to do things they would not normally do.
This is Witches' Mill in England, where in the Middle Ages, witches practiced their ancient art. There are witches who worship nature spirits and use plants and herbs to make potions for the sick. Witches who cast spells to dry up a neighbor's cow or blight his crop. Witches who wore charms and amulets to dispel the dark forces. In England, in medieval times, the church burned and hanged witches, blaming them when someone became sick or died. In France, Joan of Arc was burned at the stake because the church was afraid of her amazing psychic powers. Down through the ages, people with psychic ability have been falsely accused of being witches. And as recently as 1970, in San Jose, California, an ordinary Midwestern housewife was charged with practicing witchcraft.
Way back
For years, we have seen people lying on beds of nails or walking on sword blades, and we've thought it was magic or fakery. Now we're beginning to understand there is a thin line between magic and what we call mind over matter. And science has begun to study the people who perform these feats. Here in Hawaii, members of an ancient tribe walked barefoot through fiery coals without suffering pain or injury to their skin. All around the world, highly specialized rituals are performed that tug at the deepest unreasoning levels of the human mind. In Brazil, voodoo cults still flourish. Ceremonies are enacted where voodoo priests invoke the spirits of the dead to take vengeance on the living. Animal sacrifices, chanting, beating drums incite the crowd to near hysteria. Such questionable occult ceremonies are not limited to the more primitive areas of the world. In San Francisco, as in other American cities, Satan is alive and well. And to prove it, here, with the full cooperation of the men and women involved, is an actual celebration of the Black Mass.
Some people still allow themselves to be seduced by the theatrics of dark and sterile practices. But most of us are reaching out to a new, exciting future.
That was so Shakespearean.
There is now a generation born to the knowledge that man can leave the earth. A generation prepared, even eager, for contact from beyond Earth. And we're beginning to explore inner space to learn about the amazing psychic potential of the human mind. Where then do UFOs fit into our newly expanding awareness of the paranormal? Perhaps investigative reporter Ralph Blum, author of Beyond Earth, a book about man's contact with UFOs, could answer that question for us.
This guy walks
Mr. Blum,
like he
what
means
do you
business.
think about the UFOs?
Here we go.
I think we have to consider them as an example of Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law says that if something can possibly happen, it will. There doesn't seem to be much doubt that UFOs are happening, that they are real physical objects occupying both physical space and time. But the data also implies that UFOs may not actually fly here over vast, enormous distances, but simply materialize here, function as physical craft while in our atmosphere, and then dematerialize. I've interviewed Air Force pilots whose mission...
Did you hear what that man just said? 1975. And we're here now just trying to wrap our heads around things can come in and out of our atmosphere, in and out of the dimensions, portals, materialize, not be physical, and then become physical while in our world, and then leave and not be physical again, wherever it goes. 1975, he's saying it right there. And we're, again, this is what I'm saying. Is it just me? Or am I noticing that decades ago, they were saying the same thing? They're basically trying to tell us now, but they're acting like it's new. That's my point. You see what I'm saying? Again, last night I said it. Ghosts haven't changed, I don't believe. And the way they react, whether they're 1,000 years old or 950 years old, like that lady that runs through the castle, and she's so vibrant still that people use her to dispel the myth that ghosts dissipate over time. How many times have you heard that? They just wear themselves out. You know, I guess, oh, yeah, there he goes. So, I mean, you know, they'll tell you stuff now and act like they're telling you something. Do you understand? Whether it's on a show, like some of these history type channels that put out stuff, that stuff is very well done. And I'm not saying, even the people probably don't know it, the ones that are up there talking. It's no different than having a paranormal expert in the corner, or an archaeologist, or whatever. And they're telling you like it is, and they're giving you their theories and their ideas and getting excited. They're wearing little pins on the lapel, and they got crazy hair. So because it's so Einstein, do you see? You get where I'm coming from? And they feed you what they want you to have. And they gave it to us in 75. Same with Bigfoot. I think the Dogman, werewolf, those kind of sightings, and probably certain cryptids. But as far as UFOs, sightings, abductions, ghosts, witches, I mean, we don't feel any different than what we just saw here. There's good, there's bad, it's intent, it's what you do with it, it's energy manipulation, and using things of nature and their energy and combining everything to do your will, whatever that may be. It's healing hands, it's handshaking, it's Reiki, it's all these things. And I agree with Steve. There's a lot of chicanery going on, like that, pulling out of stuff and all that kind of mess. But this guy just said it. Coming in and out of dimensions. Did anybody else catch that? Or am I crazy? Well, that's a given.
Was to acquire UFO footage. Men who've tracked and
I'm a little
photographed UFOs
batshit.
and then just watched them vanish. Professor J.H. Bruning of the University of Mississippi has pointed out how closely a UFO experience resembles a psychic event. In both instances, something that, according to the rigid rules of science, shouldn't be there, appears and violates the known laws of space and time and gravity. Ghosts and UFOs seem to have a lot in common. Ghosts materialize, seem to float or hover above the ground, often communicate telepathically, then dematerialize, just like the reports of UFOs and their crews. These and other fascinating phenomena such as time loss, teleportation, and spontaneous healing are all associated both with occult and UFO experiences. And I'm inclined to agree with astronomer Alan Hynek, who suggested that we may be dealing with an intelligence that knows more about the physical world than we do, more about the psychic world, and is using it all.
Mr. Blum, I understand that you got down to Pascagoula, Mississippi, just 36 hours after Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker had their UFO encounter.
Yes, I did. It was the first time I'd seen for myself the profoundly disturbing effect of such an experience, not only on the two men, but on the entire town. Nothing that powerful had happened to Pascagoula since Hurricane Camille hit the Gulf Coast. And it was quite impossible to sit in the same room with Charlie and Calvin and not believe that something terrifying had happened to them.
They had me one on this arm like this, and on the other one, they had my other arm like that. And I just seemed to lift up to the same height they were off the ground, and we just moved into the craft.
Now inside, how did they lay you out? Do you remember how it happened?
Yes. I didn't see any tables or chairs or anything in there. I'm not saying it wasn't in there because the light was almost blinding, but I didn't see any. And when they carried me inside, they seemed to just lean me back, And this eye, well, I keep referring to it as an eye, it moved up in front of me about this close. Mm-hmm. And it started right at my eyes, looking me right in the eye. Uh-huh. And it hesitated there for a few seconds, and it just started moving over my entire body. When they brought me from the craft, they put along this area here, and they didn't drop me, they just released me back to the ground. And I fell. I don't know why my legs were weak. I don't know why it was the fright or what it was, but I fell onto the ground. And that's when I seen Calvin. He's standing right over here in this area, and he was standing facing the river with his arms outstretched like that, just like he was staring at something.
A man in Missouri gave a paper on 546 landing cases from 34 countries. These all involve traces, that is, where some marks were left after the UFO took off. One place where this happened was on the Johnson Farm in Delphos, Kansas, November 2nd, 1971. The strange marks in the middle there are a ring of soil affected by a UFO. There are a whole host of tests run on the ring. It's clear that something strange happened to the soil as far down as 14 inches deep. To give you an example of what happens to soil, the soil on the left was from that ring, obviously different in color and texture, and I might say from laboratory tests also different in composition from the normal soil on the right.
As long as UFOs remain in the air and perform impossible acrobatics, we can all enjoy arguments about who is hallucinating. And the military can tell the anxious citizens you did not see a flying saucer. That was Venus, or swamp gas, or migrating geese, or whatever. But all that changes when a UFO lands and aliens disembark. One of the most amazing and agonizing of such experiences involved a couple named Betty and Barney Hill.
While driving through the White Mountains of New Hampshire in 1961, the Hills lost several hours on the road. Unable to account for the missing hours and plagued by recurring dreams, they finally sought psychiatric help. While under time regression hypnosis, both Barney and Betty Hill relived being taken aboard a strange, glowing craft manned by beings not of this earth. While aboard, they were given an extensive medical examination and told that they would not remember what had happened to them. This is a model of one of the UFO occupants as described by Betty Hill under hypnosis. They were under 5 feet tall, with grayish skin, and communicated by some sort of thought transmission. In contrast, the creatures that floated toward Charles Hickson appear to have been servo mechanisms or robots. The pointed spike ears prompted astronaut Brigadier General James McDivitt to suggest that they were probably some kind of advanced radar device.
Another version of what they look like, this is a drawing made by an artist, a composite based on hundreds of eyewitness reports. And obviously most landings don't get reported. This character's about 4.5 feet tall or so, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head and a body, slightly different facial features, obviously not like any of our friends down here on Earth.
However, there are definite parallels in behavior. They have Earth excursion modules, which behave very like our lunar excursion modules. Take our Apollo program. We have strange-looking flying craft carried on board a launch vehicle. They hover out in the boondocks on the moon, land, a couple of humanoid-looking creatures climb out, wander around, pick up rock samples, play games, then re-enter their craft, lift off, disturbing the soil behind them, rendezvous with the mothership, and zip off toward another planetary body. The same sequence, in fact, that have been observed here by UFO witnesses.
One of our pioneer astronauts was Brigadier General James McDivitt. In 1965, General McDivitt spent 4 days in outer space as command pilot of Gemini 4. General McDivitt, have you ever seen a UFO?
Yes. During my flight on Gemini 4 in 1965, I saw an object in space fairly close to our spacecraft that I could not identify. It looked to me like maybe the upper stage of another rocket. I tried to take some pictures of it, but unfortunately the pictures did not come out properly. We never were able to identify what it was, and all of our ground radar tracking data indicated that there shouldn't have been another object anywhere near us at the time.
General McDivitt, do you know anyone else who claims to have seen a UFO?
Well, yes. As a matter of fact, I know all kinds of people who claim to have seen them. Some of them are very legitimate, and some of them I think are just having fun. I had an opportunity recently to meet a gentleman from Mississippi who claims to have actually been taken into a spacecraft. And quite frankly, I believe that that gentleman is telling what he considers to be the truth. He wasn't looking for publicity. He wasn't trying to be funny. He was trying to be very honest. He was very sincere. And quite frankly, I walked away from the whole conversation with him believing that what he said is true as far as he's concerned.
I kind of thought it was people at first, you know, off like that. But of course, when they appeared there in front of me, it was the most shock I've ever had in my life. They were shorter than me. I'd say about 5'2" or 3", and they didn't have a neck. Their head, it seemed to come directly to their shoulders. And it had something, it came out to a point about where a nose would be, and on each side, the ears. And I believe that they looked like they were a little longer on the ears than the nose. But it seemed to me when they came out that doorway, or that opening, or whatever it was, then just almost instantly, they were right there on us. Their arms, they had arms, and I saw the arms moving.
Can you imagine?
And in the shoulders. But they had weld. I mean, their fingers were weld, and then they had something like a thumb, and they were like this.
Can you tell me about the lie detector test? When they were asked to come over here to talk to these people, they had in their mind that it was just a big joke. And if I understand it correctly, they ran one test on Mr. Hickson. The machine showed that he was telling the truth. Then they run another one. And then the examiner, he began to wonder himself. So he ran the third test, and he believed just what Mr. Hickson had told him. Sheriff Diamond, can you tell me just what happened that night?
We questioned them at length. And then we left the room and recorded every all the conversation they had. Recorded between the two of them. And one of them kept wanting to pray. And he said, after all I went through on this earth, he said, why should I have to see something like this?
Calvin Parker, I was questioning him, and at one time he wanted to climb the wall. That's how nervous and how shook up he was.
But since I was down there, and since I was a physician, and several other scientists and investigators were asked to consult and look into the situation, I was asked, would I mind if I would be present, and I said I wouldn't mind at all. And while it is still very difficult for us to believe that a spaceship landed and that robot-type creatures came out and actually took these two people into the spaceship, these men, in my opinion, believe that they saw this and that they were being honest in reporting what they have reported.
Charles Hickson's story is not unique. UFOs first soared into the news in this country in 1947 when pilot Kenneth Arnold saw 9 disc-shaped objects skimming along at high speed and in an unconventional manner, like a saucer would if you skipped it across water. A newspaperman who interviewed Arnold coined the term flying saucer, and over a quarter century of sky watching began. For 28 years, these metallic disc-shaped craft, tens of meters in diameter, have been seen around the world, from Paris to Papua to Pascagoula. Although science has failed to supply a generally accepted explanation of UFOs, the subject has been investigated by the United States Congress. In 1968, Congressman J. Edward Roush of Indiana chaired the House Committee on Sciences and Astronautics Symposium on UFOs.
Oh, my Lord.
Congressman, do you believe UFOs are somebody else's spacecraft?
Well, I hesitate in answering the question only because of this. I don't know, but my imagination tells me...
Remember Wally Cox that used to be on shows like Laugh Man?
Perhaps.
That's who he looks like.
Something that would permit a man to travel faster than light.
I'm so
Perhaps
sorry.
There is something that...
You remember Wally Cox?
Yes, I do.
From another planet, revolving around another star.
Shit.
To make that
I really
long
screwed
trip.
this one up.
And that way they left out hundreds of reports about
Every one of these men are so serious.
Major Donald E. Kehoe, U.S. Marine Corps retired, has been reporting on the world of flying saucers. I understand, Major Kehoe, that like physicist Stanton Friedman, you believe that we are being visited by intelligently controlled vehicles from other planets.
Yeah.
I do, and I agree with the Air Force. They've had a secret conclusion to that effect since 1948.
A few years ago, I conducted a symposium here on Capitol Hill, and the participants of the symposium
Joanne remembers Wally
scientists
Cox.
of some renown.
Yeah.
They were scientists who had an interest in UFOs. And during the course of that symposium, photos were presented which purported to be UFOs.
One of the scientists who analyzed the photographs at Congressman Rausch's hearings
Could be
is
Renice.
Dr. Robert M.L. Baker, Jr., who has consented to evaluate for us 2 UFO films from the files of the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C.
We see
Well,
here
then
the
we know we
Montana
can count on it.
1950 film showing 2 bright objects taken by Nicholas Mariana of Great Falls, Montana. The natural phenomena that is often given as a source of these images is airplane reflections. Airplanes, unless moving at unrealistically high speeds, would have to be so close to the observer as to be identified as airplanes in order for them to portray the kind of motion seen on the film. I don't concede these
There's
images
Wally
to be
Cox.
airplane reflections, comets,
Tell me
or
that
other
guy's not the
well-understood
spitting
natural
image
phenomena.
of him.
We don't know whether these are sophisticated weapons. Everyone denies.
Separated
that they
at
are.
birth.
Our own country denies that they are sophisticated weapons of this country.
This film was taken in 1952 by Delbert Newhouse, a Navy photographer, near Tremonton, Utah. He estimated that there were approximately a dozen metallic objects shaped like 2 saucers, one inverted on top of the other. The official explanation was that the objects were a flock of soaring gulls. But Dr. Baker had this to say.
Birds, such as gulls, simply don't make the kinds of accelerated turns at high speeds that were measured on the film. There also exists some meteorological data that would indicate that there were no updrafts that could have allowed the birds to maintain flight for long periods by simply spiraling.
It would be seem more likely to me that it is some natural phenomena or even possibly something from outer space.
There is, however, another theory. The Bermuda Triangle is not the only area in which navigators have been troubled by the odd behavior of magnetic compasses. As every school child knows, something strange happens to your magnetic compass as you voyage into the Earth's
I think he was the voice of Underdog. I know he was Mr. Peepers.
Space, to the upper
Have you ever
atmosphere,
seen those
even to the
shows?
sun, to account for this
We
magnetic
love.
anomaly. But responsible reports suggest a greater mystery.
Well, Wally Cox.
A large concentration of UFO sightings.
He
in
was
the
a
Arctic
cartoon?
and Antarctic.
Yeah, he was the voice of Underdog.
That these regions
And
There you go.
he was also a character named Mr. Peepers that had a show or some
Even been
movies or
suggested
something.
that the flying saucers, in fact, emerge from
I don't know
and
if you
re-enter
saw it or not.
the Earth's interior.
Let's go, but he's
Bipolar doorways.
spitting the image of
And in
Wally
the
Cox,
center of our
separated
planet
birth.
is their true place of origin. In 1947, Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd, in command of the U.S. Navy Task Force,
Oh, this is
flew 1,700 miles beyond the North Pole. Not as would be expected.
That's
of a
Wally
force
Cox.
of wastes,
Separated at birth.
from that guy. This is Admiral Byrd in Antarctica. Man, they got everything in this thing, don't they? They weren't playing in the 70s. I'm here to tell you. They just laid it all out on the table. The thing that gets me, Steve, though, do you think there's a connection there? I mean, I could be nuts. Lord knows. And probably a whole can of mixed nuts. But they're saying the stuff that they're coming out and telling us now. We're going to give you this much of it. And it's the same stuff. It's nothing
It's the
new.
same stuff.
And
Nothing's
they're acting
changed.
like it's new, but they're acting
Oh, it's
like
full disclosure. No.
for national security
It's
reasons.
more of the same nothing
we
burger
held
that
it
they
from
gave
you.
us 50 years ago.
We held it from you for national security. You know, I mean, holy shit. I mean, that's incredible. Same thing. This guy sitting at the table, I like to buy him a beer. The one that was talking about the coming in and out of dimensions. Listen, I'm trying to look a lot into Dogman. We got Ron Murphy coming up. I'm gonna have you come on with him doing cryptids. I think that'd be fantastic. Wouldn't you have we'd have a big old time, wouldn't we?
Oh,
And
yeah.
you know, but I'm trying to look up into Dogman, and I'm telling you, it's amazing to me the stuff in Cabin 22, because I didn't, you know, I asked around, but you know, I went straight to Bowden and Al, and you
I
know,
had to get Bowden on to tell his Dogman story.
right. But you know, but I wouldn't ask him to tell me, you know, the whole thing. You know, I said I'm gonna, you know what I mean. I was more like, if this happened and this happened under these conditions, would it be A or
Hey,
B?
Andrew.
You know, would it lean more
Yeah,
to A or
exactly.
B? What size caliber, you know, would take them down but not kill, you know, whatever, you know, different things like that. How long does a head still see after it's been ripped from the I got friends in low places. But anyway, if you know Cabin 22, you get that. But I won't tell you anymore because Halloween's coming up. We're going to probably, everybody wants to listen to it again, so might as well. Caramel and bacon popcorn, Mrs. McGee's apple pie moonshine, and Cabin 22, a week of Halloween.
Yep.
You know, why not? See you there. Scare you there. So anyway, this is Admiral Byrd, but they got everything in this shit. This is amazing.
Vast land of mountains, freshwater
Look at this.
lakes, rivers, green vegetation, and animal life. A land not recorded on any map. From the evidence provided by Admiral Byrd and other famous explorers of the Arctic and the Antarctic, it has been suggested that the Earth is not as we have been taught. A solid sphere with a fiery center of molten metal, but is in fact a hollow shell, in which a small amount of the original fire remains to form a central sun capable of emitting light and of supporting plant growth. It has even been claimed that the huge mammoths found frozen in the polar ice are not prehistoric, but were animals from the Earth's hollow interior that wandered to the surface and froze to death.
Oh my goodness.
Proponents of this
Are they talking about that in Congress, Steve?
The Earth's crust is approximately 800
They
miles
disclose
thick,
that?
with openings at its polar
Disclose that.
extremities. They suggest that Admiral Byrd and other explorers
I've read several
actually
books on that
entered
hollow
the
Earth
opening
theory.
of
It's
the
interesting to
area
say that.
without knowing it. These
The
explorers
giants.
assumed that they were still traversing the
all
outer
of it.
surface.
All of it.
Because the downward slope of the entrance is so gradual and because they could not see the other side of the opening, which is hundreds of miles away. Almost to a man, scientists ridicule the hollow Earth theory. They will tell you that the only hollow spaces anywhere near the poles are located in the heads of those who believe in the theory. And yet,
like
a
that.
number of disquieting
Little snark there from Mr. Ascot.
He's a cheeky monkey,
How
isn't he?
then do we account for the warming effect, the presence of increasingly warm winds as one travels north beyond 70 degrees latitude? Why do these winds?
What is up with
carry
that dog? Get him by
enormous
fire quick.
Why does colored pollen stain the snow red, green,
Mush,
and
you
yellow
huskies.
thousands of square miles of the Arctic? Why are
I
all
hate
icebergs
seeing that.
composed of fresh
I know
water?
they're having fun, but damn.
And why do explorers find tropical seeds and plants?
Unless you're the lead dog, the view doesn't
floating in
change.
fresh water off these islands? Where do all these
Poor
things
babies
come from? Well, the answer to these questions is obvious to anyone who believes in the existence of an unexplored region hidden in the Earth's interior. But the hollow Earth theory is not limited to this planet. In his book, A Journey to the Earth's Interior, Marshall B. Gardner discusses the bright light seen shining from the polar caps of Mars, Venus,
Yeah,
and
this
Mercury.
is like
Concludes that these planets also
Mary Poppins.
have hollow interiors and central suns. According to Gardner, the aurora borealis, the northern lights, result from the rays of that central sun inside the Earth, projected through the polar opening into the night sky.
It's like Mary
Before
Poppins
we join
carpet
in
bag,
the laughter
man.
of scientists at these notions, we should remember that 100 years
Yeah, pull it
ago,
out.
the world's most prominent astronomers staked their reputations on the fact
I just keep
that
ripping
rocks
shit out.
did not fall from the sky. Today, these rocks are called meteorites.
Oh my.
Science, like any living thing, must grow. Now, one of the crucial new questions for scientists is how to travel through deep space. Are there cosmic arteries, openings maybe in the fabric of the space-time continuum?
Slow-mo says he's fake.
I think there's a lot of stuff out there they're not telling us about.
But now we know that, like ourselves,
Up there
stars
and
are
up
born,
there.
grow old, and eventually
And in there.
I'll tell you what, they're up to something, man. Hold on one second. This is a bunch of boring space shit. Here comes a little bit of Bigfoot.
Earthly explanation. Called Sasquatch in Canada, Bigfoot in the western states.
Here we go.
Smoke monster in Arkansas, Momo in Missouri,
Momo.
skunk ape in the Florida
Skunk
Everglades,
ape.
These foul-smelling giants, some of them reportedly 10 feet in height, crash around in the undergrowth, uproot trees, invade logging camps, and terrify witnesses.
Wonder what they say about us, Steve. You ought to see these some bitches.
Are these creatures?
They destroyed
Where did they
everything.
come from? How did they get here? Recently, an astonishing number of Bigfoot reports have coincided with UFO sightings and landings.
Same
Are
stuff.
the UFOs dropping these creatures here to see if they can live on our Earth?
The more things change, the
And
more
why
they
has no
stay
one
the
found
same.
any
Right?
bones or the remains of one of them?
Is that not
Do these
amazing?
giants, as psychic Peter Herkus claims,
Everybody's got a
decompose into
camera
powder
that they
when
carry around
die?
with them, and you can't even
Or
get a
are
clear
they
shot of
perhaps
one.
picked up again by the UFOs?
Like
to
Mitch
be
Hedberg
examined
said,
I think
Bigfoot
that's
is
on
blurry.
purpose.
That's why all the pictures are blurry, because
Yep.
the creature's blurry.
Oh. There was that one where the guy, a deer fell. He catches it, sees it on the road, or something. Somehow the deer's there. I can't remember the whole thing. Anyhow, he's got a trail cam on it. He said, I'm going to catch this Bigfoot or something coming. He doesn't know whether it's Bigfoot or a dog man. He wasn't sure. He knows big, black, and hairy. And all of a sudden, the trail cam picks up this mist. It's in the fog, people. I'm telling you. To try to come in under a fog. And the mist slowly moves up, envelops the deer, and then moves away, and you don't see the deer anymore. And he can't control the trail cam to make it move. So it's like in and out of frame or whatever. But you can see the deer's paw, hoof, hand, whatever, foot sticking out, and it's gone when the mist is gone on the trail cam. So they can put something, they know, Steve. We got to stop screwing around and understand that these things, these creatures.
And how did they know there was a trail cam?
They're telepathic. They're telepathic, and they can communicate that way, some of them. And it seems some of them at least communicate with their feelings. They can put that out, and you can feel them coming just like anything else, just like a ghost or whatever. But the thing about it is, it seems like some of the big foots and some of the dogmen, and I'm talking dogmen, not werewolf now, because again, I think that's separate. But they are trying to read your mind as well. They're out thinking you, they're stalking you like a regular wolf would. Some of these Bigfoot are kind of coinciding with these things, and other Bigfoot seem to be separate and off of a not a subspecies, but different characteristics. And just like in Cabin 22, I had the nice, like regular ones that came and kind of stayed and are kind of tribal. And then these things coming through the portal that were just bigger, meaner, warrior killers, And those are the ones that seem to hang out with the dogman. This is incredibly crazy. But everything seems to be able to read your mind or back and forth, communicate telepathically. Aliens, think about it. Animals, right? Your own backyard, right, Steve? Yeah. The chipmunk sends out different warning calls to warn everything in its yard, in its territory, and puts out different calls. So does the chickadee. And you can watch it. You can watch the rabbit tense up the same time as the squirrel does, and then the squirrel will just move, and it looks to see where it is, and it depends on ground predator or from the air. You can see the difference. I'm telling you, watch nature. There's a reason the Asians got so good with the martial arts and everything else. That's a bleak way to put it, but what I mean is to take all those characteristics from animals to put them into all their movements, the slow, steady movements of Tai Chi and all the martial arts and the different positions. Same with yoga, same with gosh, how many different things, all Native American, so many Native American beliefs, how they pack up and move with the seasons and just everything. It's all freaking connected, Steve. Let's carry on.
Is the
Sorry.
Bigfoot a cosmic mutation? Incredible as this notion may seem, we're contemplating even stranger possibilities in our own laboratories. In 1818, when Mary Shelley first conceived of the Baron Frankenstein, the idea of one human being fabricating another was sheer fantasy. Now the inconceivable has become a near reality as scientists around the world do research in the new and ominous field of genetic engineering.
It seems to be one way or the
That's
other.
one of the theories for Dogman is the government or some government or someone trying to create a super soldier.
Steve, I swear, exactly. And now I'm starting to hear, wow. I mean, look back how far to when Skinwalker Ranch was putting out stuff that was, wasn't turned into this, the Curse of Oak Island kind of crap. All I'm saying is, you go back to that. What was coming through those portals? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was Dogmen.
Yeah.
I mean, they said that
the
it
lady,
ripped
I can't
open.
remember the family there but yeah, she saw something, what she described as a portal open up, a canine creature on two legs with a scowl on its face walked on two legs.
Mm-hmm.
And then another time a thing opened up and she saw a guy sitting at a desk doing something. He looked up and scowled at her, and then whatever it was closed back. They don't tell what they're up to or who it is.
Exactly. And I'm hearing multiple stories of the metal cage, the metal clank, like doors clanking, opening or clanking closed.
That's a common something that they hear before these different types of sightings, a metallic noise.
Yes, it has no business being in the woods. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just it like a metal trap they're hearing. So you've got multiple stories across the board on that. And I'm hearing a lot of that going on with this Dogman thing.
Release the Dogman.
It's listen, sometimes the spells work, dude. You know what I mean? Opening up things and inviting it in and come in to cause havoc and chaos and everything else. When was the last time you heard so many reports on that, with Bigfoot being with aliens and Bigfoot and portals and the missing? There's a lot more coming out about that, and I think if you think about it, sorry guys, I get excited when when the pieces snap together. If you think about it, a lot of these missing, Steve, being pulled up and not hearing about it, people not hearing about it. And listen, do you know how many stories I've heard lately where you have to be retired from whatever to come out and talk about it. And now that I'm out, I'm going to tell it,
Yeah.
And they start telling witnesses to things like the famous 1982 Land Between the Lakes, right? Now, I'm trying to sort this, and I'm definitely going to talk to Ron about it too. The guy comes out. Now, there was 4. They were Amish, God bless them. They left they said, they sold everything, sold their property, bought a nice RV. Sad story. If I get it wrong and somebody's listening, I apologize. I'm paraphrasing, straight up disclaimer. So there's the 4 of them. Little girl around 8-ish, young boy around 10, 11, somewhere like that, 12. Man and his wife. They're in the van, and they just got done chopping wood, left the axe at the log where they were chopping, come around, got in the van, close the door, and something, the father comes through, the boy's lagging behind, moreover to the driver's coming in that front door or whatever. Something opens the door, pulls the young boy out, holds him up. He's gone. Somebody, the dad grabs the rifle, shoots him. The dog man knocks him back. Another dog man comes through the windshield on the other end, or from the front anyway. It came through a window. I don't know which one it was up front, and got the little girl and the mother. And there's a story about how they found one of them, I won't say what, in the tree when the police came finally and all this other stuff. Nobody knew who they knew who they were. They never gave out their names. And then they just went and cleaned it up like nothing ever happened, and then destroyed the area in which it happened like it never happened. So the little like place you would go for the latrine or bathroom or whatever, showers, whatever, the concrete building, tore it down. It's just the foundation, cut the poles where you would have parked, but the remnant is left there. You could tell that, you know, they didn't want it to be a spot, you know, where you could go and say it happened here or whatever. It's kind of crazy. So then out of nowhere comes a guy, sounds believable as all get out, and through all kind of voice things, and you listen to the story, you be the judge, comes out and says, hold up, you got the story wrong. Calls in to these people that live out there and do the story on it all the time. They're out there, they live there. What's it, Land Between the Lakes, and calls him up and says he was there. He was friends with the boy. He left with them, got permission from his parents to go with them on this camping trip. They were going to go shooting and fishing, whatever. They run him through all these tests and vet him and all this other mess. He comes back and says the story's wrong. He said in fact, he was the one who said it wasn't one, it was two, and told the story about how they came through the front and got the young girl and the mom. And he was just upset because everybody was making it sound even worse than it was by describing somebody being in the tree. He said it wasn't one of them. They were in the RV. It was the other dog man, because he had shot it and the dad had shot it. I think it was bird shot, but still. And somehow, whatever, that was what was in the tree. But nothing in the police report. They covered it up, supposedly, allegedly, and brushed it under the table, Steve. And here's this witness from all this time, from 82, 84, Steve? I can't remember when.
Something
Close
like
to it.
that, yeah.
Come out of nowhere and said, and you know how he survived it? He was in the RV. And he was kind of smack dab in the middle. He had been in there, you know, before with the mom and the little girl, while the dad and son were out chopping the wood. He was sent inside. He had just got in, sat in the middle, and was fidgeting with whatever. I can't remember what it was. They were going to go shooting, plinking. You know, they were going to go target shooting, cans and whatnot. So anyway, he was excited about that. And everything happened. He's the one to describe what happened on the inside. And his main thing was to come out and say, you know, when people retell it, they add things to it. It was bad enough, the truth. Don't disrespect them. And why weren't their families alerted? You know, I mean, they're from the Amish, you know, yeah, they have a common Amish name, he said, but they were from the Amish community close by there. I forget the name of the place. Is that not incredible, though?
Amazing.
He survived. He ran out the front. He says as a 15-year-old, he's still covered with guilt, thinking he could have done more, but my God, what could you do? He was in the middle. He got one in the front and one in the back. The only reason he got away was because that one that got shot twice took off, and he went by it. And he said, if I had only picked up the gun as I ran by, but I was so scared. He saw his chance. He dove out the door and went under it, and spread eagle underneath in between the two wheels up front, and just and stayed quiet and hid up underneath that RV. He says he doesn't know how long he hung on, Steve. He hung on till he couldn't no more. And when he finally dropped, he ran till he found some guy in a pickup fishing or whatever. Got help. And he wasn't met with the police. He was met by two guys in suits wearing sunglasses. And nothing was ever spoken of again. He said he wasn't harassed or anything. He did say that. They were, it was kind of hard getting him back to his home because he had to get on a little plane and stuff. But is that not incredible? And he goes more into detail with it. It's not my story to get all into detail with, but they're not saying anything. These people just like pretty much disappear kind of thing, and certainly no mention of dogmen or anything else. They don't want people to know these things are out there. So they don't want to say it because responsibility, tourism, big loss of money, but people should be warned. You better be armed. You better, I'm telling you this stuff. And I think it's just like Steve said, cameras and everything else, and everything is out. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stop this so long. We'll catch the last part of this. But there he is. So the thing is they're not, the word is getting out. It's like you can't keep the truth down anymore. And if you see here what they're showing us from 1975, they're pretty much saying the same thing. They're telling us in supposedly sacred places, in front of God and everybody, that they're disclosing stuff that's all new. Here, we're going to give you this. Yeah, we've seen them. Yeah, they've been here. Our pilots have seen, Botchagaloop or whatever you want to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And they're not telling people, and people are missing in the woods. Ask Steve. Steve can testify, can't you? On people missing?
Lots
and
lots of them.
Are they calling them through the portals, Steve? I think they are. I think are they calling them through the portals? I think they are.
That's a part of it.
I do. I think some of these spells are working. They need to send them back through. Send them back through, because I'm telling you, I'm certainly hearing a lot more about it. That could be just because I'm paying more attention. I don't know. We're almost done. We're almost out of here.
Contemplating the cloning of human life.
Oh, here we go.
Dr. Richard Siegel, professor of genetics at UCLA.
They really are touching everything.
Some of the ethical, the social, and even the political implications of science interfering with evolution.
Dr. Siegel, is it likely, in your opinion, that cloned man will become a reality in the near future?
The very definite possibility exists that in the foreseeable future, it will be possible to clone the most complex mammal of all, man himself. We have the theory, we have the scientific know-how.
UCLA.
However, some of the very specialized techniques that are required have not yet been achieved. But there's reason to believe that with the concerted effort, some of the barriers that now exist can be avoided. Were human cloning finally achieved, and I must emphasize that it has not yet been done, I think that it would raise some very remarkable ethical problems for all mankind. After all, here would be a group of people who would have no proper father, no proper mother, no family, who would recognize from the outset that they were Xerox copies, as it were, of people who exist or had recently existed. And to contend with this through their lifetimes would present a most difficult problem that would finally have to be dealt with. Whether it would be psychiatric, psychological, I don't know. I would not like to be a Xerox copy myself. Certainly cloning would raise, too, some very practical problems for man. For example, one can think immediately a dictator who could clone for himself a superior fighting force, people that would be virtually invincible as an armed force. People who could be programmed so that they would have no mental blocks against fighting. They would have no question but to go out and kill or do the bidding of the dictator. Now here's another possibility. Really very intriguing, but at the same time quite frightening. We can imagine that a very wealthy, very powerful individual might have a dozen or so clones of himself prepared. And these could be kept in storage, as it were, and could be used when called upon as a source of spare parts. For example, when this wealthy old man's heart began to give out, he could get a new heart, a transplant, from one of his clone copies. And there would be no danger whatsoever of transplant rejection. The heart would be destined to take and would function normally. Similarly, in the case of some horrible accident, if a leg were removed or horribly damaged in the case of the wealthy man, a spare part again could be taken from a clone copy, and this could be used to function. But here's the question. What do we do with the copy from whom the spare part has been removed?
What indeed would we do with all those pieces and parts?
That's a good question.
Persons? What would we call the debris?
Has man become too arrogant? Do we already believe there is nothing that science and technology could not eventually solve? Are we indeed the new Atlantis? The challenge that confronts us is as enormous as it is exciting. We are ready to tap new resources: telepathy, psychokinesis, Bigfoot and black masses, UFOs and Atlantis.
Oh my!
Kirlian photography,
all tied together.
And cryonics. These subjects all have one thing indisputably in common: people want to know more about them, to learn to forge new tools for mankind's future on Earth and beyond. Where are these new concepts and talents coming from? Are they imprinted in us from the beginning? Or are we being programmed from without, in the sense that the Lord once programmed Moses for survival? Are some of us again in contact with angels? Technological angels, if you like, who are better at the game and wiser?
I don't know. I think that they know more of what's going on down here on this earth than we think. And I don't know, they might have been, you might say, looking for somebody that could, you might say, hold up under the strain and convince people that there is another world and there's some kind of life on that world.
They. Who are they? Well, we're living in a troubled time. So perhaps the most pleasing theory is that they are from planet Earth itself.
I love
from
this.
Far in the future, when we have at last learned to travel backward in time. I like that.
I do too.
Because if that theory
Why
is
not?
correct, if they are our own descendants, if they are from the future, why then it means we made it. We survived.
Why not, right, Steve? It's as good as any other.
Yep, indeed.
Why not? It could be us. I forgot I did this. Not a bad year. How about that? Oh, shoot. Sorry. Oh, my goodness. That's how it used to get you too, Steve. That disco would come right at you and hit you in the face.
Yeah.
I was an AC/DC girl. I hung around with hard rock people most of the time. You know, I listened to a little Simon and Garfunkel, little Seals and Crofts, little Hamilton, Joe Frank and Reynolds, and Meatloaf, and golly, the bands. We had some music. We had some good movies. Gas 44 cents a gallon. Stamps for 10 cents, for Pete's sake. Hot cars, custom vans, bell bottoms. Guys
Of course,
had long
minimum
hair.
wage was what, $1.25 or something like that.
I don't know. I know a Snickers bar was bigger and cost less, so
Yep.
Go figure. And I just love the fact that everything they said, pretty much. I mean, some of it I don't know much about Antarctica. I know they're up to something. I know the people that are going there are up to something. So if they're going there, they're up to something. Just saying. You know, you have a better explanation, you come tell me. So and you're not supposed to know, can't fly over it. You're not supposed to travel. Something's up. Do you see that guy who found that lake at the bottom of the ocean with a submarine, and he tried to hit it with the submarine just bounced off of it? I think that's just some kind of dense extra. I don't know. We'll just keep it. We'll stick a pin in that. We'll see what comes up. I got enough trouble with my hands full with ghosts. And now apparently this whole stuff coming through the portal. So Steve, tell us what you got coming up this week. Thank you. Sorry I kept you late.
Oh, it's all right. Tomorrow, got a video premiering about Legends and Mysteries of Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. Really, really, really good script by Nicole that I brought to life with my voice and artwork and video there. And I've got that new book series out. I think book 6 was just released today. Going to be 8
cool.
in total. Got more planned. So,
So
Mysteries
cool.
in the Dark. That's
I'll have to make you one of those videos where you come at you with the
it's-
books with the different.
It's another collection of true stories from other people, other people's experiences.
Disco didn't die; it was murdered. Fro says, "Yeah, man. I'll tell you what. Disco could be scary. You guys like to be scared. There's not much scarier than being you're out just minding your own business at some bar. First of all, you're enduring some disco music. You got Donna Summer up there or somebody. And some of those things had a beat now. I'm not going to lie. But I was no fan of disco. That was the Bee Gees era and, Staying Alive. And there was a lot going on. And the scariest thing is turn around and you got to finally get a cold beer and you're going to relax. And you got some guy dancing at you with a perm, satin shirt open to the navel with
a big medallion,
gold chains, high-waisted polyester
platform shoes, bell-bottom trousers,
bottoms, platform shoes, and smelling like high karate. I mean, and you're going, no, I mean, it's like, trying not to make this guy feel bad. It's like, dude, please dance on, my brother. It's like, just no way. I mean, rock and roll. That's where I went. There's a lot to choose from, Steve. It's been fun, right? Say hi to Nick.
Oh,
everybody get over there and check out what Steve's got going. There's a lot of good stuff over there. And check out AJ, the Radio Vault too. And I hope his family feels better. Everybody caught a little cold or something run through there. And anybody that's hurting tonight, anybody that stopped feeling well or having a hard time, whatever, just look back. Every 3 or 4 or 5, 6 times, I can't even lost count, in that movie that was kind of like Mary Poppins carpet bag. Shit just kept pulling out. It was crazy. And if you want to see that whole thing, it's on YouTube. Go in there and just pop that in and watch it. There's more. And they said that we're in hard times. The world's in trouble. The earth's in trouble. They said something along those lines several times throughout that movie. Probably giving a nod to the like I said, the ecology and the all the green stuff that was going on back then, and the ozone layer. Aquanet was killing the ozone, and it's just everything, gas, energy, electric, water, everything. They were up our you know, we all wore the t-shirts. We all did the things. We watched the Indian cry that was an Italian. So all I'm saying is, as bad as things might seem right now, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I promise you, I don't believe it's a train. If it is, just jump off the tracks. But they said it in 1975, and we made it this far. So it looked, believe me, I was there. They were making it sound just as dire, and there was crazy things, and Nixon and Watergate, and Ford was falling down the stairs. They tried to shoot him twice. He was a short little time in the White House, and they tried to kill him twice, shot at him. You know, falling down all over the place. It had no business being
Sarah
there.
Jane Moore and Squeaky Fromm were the two that tried to put him in the ground.
And he got in there because you might be surprised, but you know, Nixon kind of got.
Excuse
me. You all right? Nixon kind of.
He headed the Warren Commission, and for steering it the way they wanted it steered, when Nixon stepped down, who they give the presidency to?
Yep.
There's all that was planned.
All of it. They're the
the
same damn game, same playbook as now. Just like in 1975 when they're saying the Earth is in trouble and all that. The Earth's fine. Dadgummit. We are like fleas on an old hound dog to the Earth. The Earth's fine. Stop killing the trees. Stop killing nature. Stop killing the animals. Stop killing each other. Love one another. Stay out of each other's way and just behave. Right? I love you, Steve. There is hope in the air. Here's a little 1970s on the way out. I'm out of here. You out of here, Steve? Good night, Nick.
Good night, everybody.
All right, everybody. Good night.